Hey, what is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to episode 77 of the X Button Gaming Podcast. As always, I am Chris, and I'm here today with a special guest. He is one of the co-hosts of the Generations Behind podcast, one of the co-hosts of the Collective Perspective YouTube channel with Bird Dog Gaming, and the host of his own titular Craig's Game Room YouTube channel. That's right, I have Craig in the house today, in his game room. Thank you for joining me, Craig. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm fantastic. Thank you for calling me a very special guest. It's good to know that I'm one of the special ones.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here with you today. We were talking before the show. We've talked a little bit, just like over the years on Discord and different things, but this is our first like real conversation. So I'm excited to get to know you, talk games with you. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Over the course of, like you said, the small conversations we've had, and even just watching your content, listening to your podcast, I feel like it's such a weird thing because you start to feel like, oh yeah, like Craig, we're tight. We talk all the time.
That guy.
But yeah, we've never even met. So like, it's all via just not visual, but audio, whatever. There's a word there.
There's, so many hundreds of hours of our voices on the internet at this point, right?
Yeah, so. I know. I'm always surprised that anybody continues to listen to mine. I drive myself nuts.
Hey, you have
nuts.
A great show.
Well,
you are a fantastic podcast host. You are one of the best out there. So
I appreciate that. Sometimes when I'm listening back, when I'm editing, I listen to myself and I'm like, God, shut up. Like, why do you do this?
We're all our own biggest critics. So
yeah, no, it's true.
You definitely keep it up as long as you want to, because I think you do a great job.
I appreciate that. And I do intend to try as long as somebody's interested.
Right.
But no, I love your content. Collective Perspective is a lot of fun. One of the first times right after the first video I watched on Bird Dog's channel, I ended up stumbling into one of the Collective Perspective episodes. So that's been a few years now, probably 3 or 4 years, but it's great content. I love all of the topics that you guys discuss. Like the recent one was on movies and how they affect video game value. And that's like one of those subjects that I've always been fascinated with. Like even recently I bought a lot off of OfferUp, and there was a copy in there. I didn't know this when I bought it, but there was a copy in there of Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, and it was it was sealed. So I was gonna flip it to get some money back, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna hold on to this because season 2 of Fallout's coming up this year.
So it's definitely gonna spike, and then you could get even more money.
Yeah, I was like, let's see how this goes. So,
man, I'm so excited for that too. The Fallout show is so good.
Yeah, season 1 was honestly, like, I'm a pretty just an average Fallout fan. I loved Fallout 1 and 2, but the newer ones didn't really do it for me. But I still appreciate them. But the show itself, even Jasmine, who never played the games, really enjoyed the show. It's just really good.
Fallout 1 is the only one I've ever actually beaten, and it was one of the most fun times I've ever had with the video game, period. So.
Oh, yeah, Fallout 1's fantastic. And if you liked it, you'll like 2. There's no way you won't. 2 is probably... It's more structured, so like it's got a little more story. But the game, even using the word structure when you talk about Fallout 1 and 2 is... You shouldn't use the word because they're not structured at all.
It's one of the few true role-playing games I feel like I played in my life where I'm like, I really do feel like I could kind of do whatever, which is awesome. Like I played Fallout 1. As soon as I found out you could do like pacifist, no fighting, I stopped fighting everything. And I like an hour or two into the game and I just stopped fighting. And I thought that was such an interesting and weird experience to play a game like that with no combat. And I loved it.
I agree. It's some of my favorite moments are from like video game memories are from Fallout. Like in 2, I don't remember if they can do this in 1, but in 2, I remember playing it and being like, I'm just going to make my character just strong. Like he's going to beat down everything. Let's put it all in strength and, whatever else. And so his intelligence was really low. And in the first conversation you have, you basically talk like a caveman. And the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's normally like nice, but he like attacks you because he's like, you're primitive. Why are you here? Like,
that's awesome. Yeah. I remember I started watching a lot of videos about Fallout 1 after I beat it just to see some of the other things you could do. And that was by far one of the funniest things was them, like people like baby talking to you essentially because they just assume you don't understand because all of your all your responses are grunts and
Yeah.
not actual words. It's so funny.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
And
But
shout out to Tim Kaine. I don't know if you know, he has a whole YouTube video or a YouTube channel where he talks all about game development and stuff. The original creator of Fallout and his excellent,
yeah, I didn't know
great
that.
stuff.
I'll have to
Mm,
watch it because I those games have like a gameplay. It's not even like everything about those games is a feeling I still chase in video games that I can't find, and which is why when I bought Fallout 3 on launch, collector's
hmm
edition, like and everything, so I was so excited that it was coming back, and I was so disappointed because it's good at what it does, and I appreciate it now, even though it's still not really for me. But
hmm
it was just so different than the first two
Very
games,
different.
and not even just gameplay wise. It was like all that those choices you had, they just didn't feel as dynamic, and they didn't feel as like the effect was as strong. And I don't know, man. Like I could go back and play those games at any time. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely want to prioritize Fallout 2 at some point, just because it seems like of classic Fallout, that's the one that people prefer overall. I know it has like twice the amount of content too, so it's like a big beefy game.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I have a semi-office job, so PC gaming isn't always my favorite because I'm like, oh, I was just sitting at a desk for 8 hours.
Yeah,
Gonna go home and sit at my desk for another 5 or 6 before I go to bed. Doesn't always sound appealing.
I get it. I yeah, I struggle with that same thing when it comes. And I do have an office job, I guess, but I work from home. But I'm at a
hmm
computer all day. But I don't know. Like PC gaming and I don't like mesh as well as I do on a console. But it's whatever.
Yeah,
I still appreciate
I
it.
like
But
sitting on the couch, vegging out.
hmm
I Being at a desk just feels less relaxing in a weird way, but I think that's just a mental hurdle I need to get over at some point.
I get it. I always say that if the physical media, the physical video games die out and it just all goes digital, like at that point, I'm just gonna go PC. So I might as well try sooner than later because we're getting
Sure.
there anyway.
Hey, emulators have only gotten better too, so
Yeah,
you have an endless amount of old games you could play too.
that is true. I do
Even
like.
Saturn emulation, which was so hard to do for many years, you can emulate Saturn pretty dang good now.
Hey,
So
they finally got there, huh?
took them a while,
Yeah,
but and the 3D stuff is still harder to get rolling than the 2D stuff, but it's way better than it used to be. And it's like if anyone out there has not played Panzer Dragoon Saga, which I'm sure is 100% of the people listening to this, go figure out a way to play it, emulate it on your PC. You won't regret it.
yeah. That game's been on my want to play list for a long time. But even when I kind of sort of started collecting in like 2005, 6, it was already expensive, and I
Right?
was working part time at GameStop. I didn't have the money for it, so
Just hoping and praying someone would trade it in.
yeah. My boss at the time there, that was one of his favorite games, and he brought he was a fun guy, but he was a jerk sometimes. He brought it in and just brought it and set it at the top shelf in the back room at the store.
To
So
taunt you.
that yeah, just to taunt us, like look what I have. But he was always
That's
like, you can
funny.
borrow it if you want, but I didn't have a Saturn, so
That is one of my biggest retro gaming flexes that I had. When I did play it, I played it on original hardware, and
yeah.
that was a cool experience.
That is a flex because not many people get to do that.
And I think most people that own it would be afraid to actually, play it anyway because they're
Yeah,
so afraid of damaging the little fragile Saturn discs.
I know. Everything about the Saturn discs and case is fragile. You drop a penny on it and the case breaks. So
Cracks in 10 different places and the spine somehow.
yeah, why? Yeah, I get it. I would probably, if I ever managed to get a copy, I do have a Saturn now. If I ever managed to get a copy, I would play it at least one time that way, and then box it in acrylic and put it aside so it can't be damaged.
Yes, a nice hard acrylic case just in case.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get into the get to know you portion. So, obviously, because this is your first time on the podcast, some of the listeners might not know who you are. Maybe they're not familiar with your YouTube channel, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity for everybody listening to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure, sounds like fun.
All right, so I do have a few questions here. So we'll start with the first one, and that's what is your earliest gaming memory?
So I have a weird answer because I'm going to give you two, and that's because I don't know if your brain works like this too, but I have like extremely early memories where like it just looks like a photograph in my head, like there's no movement,
Yeah,
like it's just like an image in my head, and that is of me in my living room with my dad, and I remember Super Mario World being on the TV. Couldn't tell you if I played it. Couldn't tell you anything that was going on. I very much remember that CRT. I remember the entertainment center, and I remember like just seeing the overworld screen on the TV, because we did own a Super Nintendo at one point. But I never played it like while I had like memories. Because my dad was always selling the old consoles for the new consoles. Because my dad is a gamer as well. That's why I'm such a big old nerd. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
But my first like actual memory of playing games is playing Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64. I remember, just starting up, going through Kokiri Village. My dad was teaching me how to play the game, essentially telling me where to go to get the sword, how to get money for the Deku Shield and all that stuff. So I have a very, very big soft spot in my heart for Ocarina of Time, because that's like basically my earliest like memory of like being conscious, like knowing that I exist. So, and I played Ocarina of Time. I played that game more times than I could count. I could practically play the game blindfolded at this point. Me and on my channel, where for Generations Behind, we did an episode on Ocarina of Time, and I think I beat it like almost 100%, like basically like 16 hours without like a couple of things here and there. It's like I blast through that game because it's like I don't even think about it. I know where every key is in every dungeon, which way to go first, and it's just like second nature to me at this point. So
that's impressive.
Ride and die for Ocarina of Time. I will defend that game to my dying breath.
Oh, for sure. And that's a great first memory too, because that game is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if somebody tries to play it today compared to Breath of the Wild or whatever, they might not be able to appreciate it as much. But if you can really take the time to look back and be like, to think about what that game was and like how it looked and felt in 1996, right? 96, I think is when it came out. 97.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere around there, yeah.
And I know like maybe, so somebody wasn't born then, but if you can really take, like, that game was phenomenal. Like, it was mind blowing at the time. And it's still like, I've replayed it in recent years. Both, I did it on the virtual console a few years back, and then the 3DS again as well. And either version, I feel like it holds up really well. Like, I love the 3D Zelda games. So I mean, I love the dungeon aspect of those games. I'm not a huge fan of Breath of the Wild, the new style, but yeah,
everyone yells at me for not loving Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So I think they're fine. It's just not what I want.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've always said. I appreciate them for what they are, and I did put a lot of time into Breath of the Wild when the Switch 1 came out, but yeah, it's just I don't really love open world games in general. No, I like structure.
I'm very picky with open world games, and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom had that problem for me, where you could try climbing up that mountain for 10 minutes, it'll rain, you get annoyed, you finally get up there, and there's nothing up there anyway. I feel like there's a lot of that in those games, and while I respect it, and I respect that people love it, they're just not my favorite. Like, if I were to do, like, top 10, top 5, whatever Zelda games, it's like neither of those games would even make, like, the honorable mentions.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I think it's same for me.
They're solid games, they're just not for me. So, and to be fair, I guess little asterisk, I haven't actually beaten Tears of the Kingdom, but that's because I wasn't enjoying it enough to finish it. I'm going to finish it now that it runs better on Switch 2, because at least I could tolerate it not running at 4 frames a second. But after I beat it, I don't think my opinion will change unless, the ending is life-changing. So,
yeah, I didn't beat Tears of the Kingdom either, but I played it maybe about 10 plus hours. And, honestly, like, it was better than Breath of the Wild. Like, they added some really cool concepts, some really cool areas, like the whole, whatever it's called, the depths, I think. It was, like, really cool, and I could tell it would be fun to explore. I just wasn't feeling it. And that's my problem with open world games, is I'm rarely feeling it. Like, they have to pull me in really quick. Like, Ghost of Tsushima pulled me in really quick for an open world game, and it stuck. But that doesn't happen all that often. Like,
to me, there's not a lot of like Skyrims or Oblivions or Cyberpunk 2077s where the world just like engrosses me enough to where I just being there is enough.
Yeah.
And those are like 3 of the only examples I could even think of off the top of my head, that like just everything about the, just the vibes of the game is enough to enough for me to like want to be there for an extended period of time. And I don't know, the open world Zeldas just don't do that for me, unfortunately. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, I agree. I'm a really big fan of the dungeons in Zelda, and even though the second one got better with its dungeon-like areas, it's still was lacking in that. But I'm okay. Like I would totally be fine with them existing, like this version of Zelda, the open world. If we could still at least get an occasional 2D or 3D Zelda that's in the
Hmm.
old styles, like
Hmm.
just very dungeon crawly, kind of straightforward, typical Zelda playthrough or play style.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I wonder if they're gonna do, you know, the Breath of the Wild formula forever. Because I feel like you can't do that forever. I feel like eventually, I mean, unless you make totally new locale. I mean, they use the same Hyrule twice essentially. They added the underground and all that stuff and a lot of the sky stuff, which is cool. But I wonder, I don't know. I feel like eventually they have to revert back, otherwise it might become old hat.
I mean, that's what happened with 3D Zelda in general. I
Hmm.
mean, most people won't deny that Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, even Twilight Princess are all really good. But by the time Skyward Sword came out, which is also really good, the fatigue
Hmm.
had set in, and a lot less people played it. People don't have as fond memories of it. It's obviously not. I don't think it's as good as the rest, but
I will
uh,
also defend Skyward Sword to my dying breath for what it's worth.
no, I
So
I enjoyed it.
I
It's one
love
of
it.
the few I never finished, but it's because I didn't own it back in
Hmm.
the day. Um,
It's very backtracky, but I think the good outweighs the bad for sure in
yeah.
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I do hope they go back to that style at least on occasion. Just
Hmm.
give us a old style 3D Zelda every once in a while. All right, so let's talk about some of your other hobbies that you enjoy. Do you have any other favorite hobbies outside of the video game realm?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit basic in terms of nerdism. I love my anime like a lot of video game people do.
Yeah.
I love my TCGs like a lot of people do. I very much love playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Big fan of that. But I do play some Pokemon and Magic as well. I don't collect Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic too much. I mostly just play those card games. Like I'll buy like structured decks or cards here and there to build decks, but I'm not like building binders of them. But I do that with Pokemon cards because over the years, Pokemon cards have gotten crazy with all these fall arts and different things, so they're just very fun to
Yeah,
collect and rip packs and everything else.
and they look so good sometimes. Some of those
They
cards look
really do.
so
They're
good.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone incredibly hard with Pokemon card art over the years. So I got like two or three, big binders full of cards that hopefully I never have to part with in any way, but I do love them to death. I'm also just a very big music guy, but I guess who isn't really. Um,
I've met a few, but
so
generally, yeah.
No, yeah, I exactly. I'm very into like kind of like the metal, post-hardcore, metalcore kind of scene stuff like that. I was a teeny weeny kid that you'd see at the mall back in the 2000s with the straightened hair and all the black and neon. So very nostalgic for that point in time and a lot of music from that era. Um,
Yeah, like My Chemical Romance and stuff like that, or like
oh yeah, or like even deeper from first to last. Dance Gavin Dance, I still listen to this day. Circus Survive, if you ever heard of them, my favorite band of all time. So a lot of like I said, like the post-hardcore screamo-y kind of stuff. I love that
gotcha.
stuff. And in terms of music, I like playing music as well and writing and recording. I haven't done it in a while just because inspiration hasn't sparked in a long time, and it's hard to force creativity like that. But I do
Yeah.
enjoy playing, guitar, bass, drums, ukulele, keyboard, all that stuff. I
Oh
I am a
dang.
multi-instrumentalist. I'm just not I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Like I enjoy playing them all and I'm decent at all of them, but I wouldn't say I'm great at any of them. But I do love it. And I'm a big horror film guy as well. I love movies in general, but super, super into horror films. Scream is my favorite movie of all time. Um, Me and my wife, that is pretty much our go-to. Like we don't watch a lot of TV, but if we're going to sit down and watch something, we are going to be watching a horror movie probably like 19 out of 20 times. So
Dang. So you guys really like horror movies. It is
yeah, and
funny
I
how.
wasn't.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I
Uh,
was gonna say I was never super into him either, really, until I met my wife. We're going on 7 years this September, and she watched them all her life. Like old black and white stuff, like silent films up to this day. Like that's just always what she lived and breathed horror. And I never really watched that kind of stuff until she started introducing me to it. And it's like now they're the only kind of movies I like to watch. Like I love slashers, psychological, all that kind of stuff. So big horror movie fan.
yeah, I get it. I like a good psychological horror movie.
Hmm.
I'm not into slashers so much. They just make me
Hmm.
anxious. Like
That's fair.
um
I get that.
But there's a lot of crossover in the video game world with horror buffs. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of really expensive and popular horror games, but I've noticed just in general, and I don't know that I realized this until the last handful of years, but it seems like if you really are into video games and collecting and playing a lot, you tend to really be into horror movies too. Like, obviously, nothing's across the board, but it's
No, yeah, there is a lot of crossover though. You're right. It seems that way, and even with the kind of music I like, a lot of metalheads also like horror movies. A lot of people like horror movies also seem to like video games in some way. It's interesting. It's like I'm kind of like in the middle of that Venn diagram in a way.
yeah, you've managed to find a way to like most of them. So what's your
Exactly.
I didn't write this, or I didn't give this to you beforehand, but I'm sure you probably have an answer. What's your favorite anime?
Favorite anime is easily JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm a huge JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fan. I love the manga. I love the show. Me and my wife are both diehards. We both have JoJo tattoos of like multiple JoJo tattoos. I just love it. Part 7 is my favorite part, Steel Ball Run, which is getting animated. I think it comes out next year. They haven't set a date, but I'm assuming next year. And I cannot wait because the manga, it's like, even if you separated it from the rest of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 7 is like my favorite manga, just like piece of like anime manga, anything ever. So I can't wait to see it animated. I cannot wait. Close second, though, I do love Attack on Titan quite a lot. I know that's kind of considered a basic answer at this point, but I really do think that the storytelling in that show is like unmatched. There's nothing else like it. And it's one of those things where every time you watch it again, it gets better because you just notice all the subtle foreshadowing that you never would have noticed the first time watching it.
100%. Yeah, Attack on Titan is not just probably my favorite anime, it's one of my favorite shows. Like, just
so good.
I obsess over the level of detail in that show. The music, like I listen to the music on repeat. It's one of my go-tos.
Yeah, I was gonna say I won't spoil anything, obviously, because anyone out there hasn't seen it, you got to watch it. But there's a pivotal moment in season 2 where there's a big reveal, and the song that plays in that is one of the best songs ever written. I know you know exactly.
I get chills every time I hear it. Every time I see that scene, I get chills still.
Oh my god, I think about it right now and I have chills.
I do too. Yeah, that and in season 3. Where's it at? I have an Erwin figure, a Figma figure. It fell the other day, and I have to freaking position it. It's really cool and detailed, but man, they're a pain in the butt to position.
Yes, they are. But his speech is one of my favorite things in anything ever.
Dude, anytime I have to do something that makes me anxious, not anytime, but a lot of the times, I will literally put on that speech and listen to it to hype myself up. My soldiers ready. Yeah, man, it's just it. Once again, gives me chills.
We need to do a podcast just about Attack on Titan where we just talk about that for hours.
I could easily, just another reason to rewatch it, I'm fine with as well.
No, yeah, because I watched it for the first time. Shout out my best friend, Emily. She got me on that show, like, as soon as it premiered back in the day. She was on it day one. She's like, you got to watch it. This stuff's so good. And I remember I watched it and I was like, hey, it's all right. And then I just fell off for many, many years. And then once the final season started, not the final season, but the final season, since it had 3 final seasons.
I know.
I was like, you know what? I was like, I didn't give this show the time it deserved. Let me just start it over, watch it all. Maybe I'll like it more than the first time when I watched the first season. And one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And then it took me about 6 years to get my wife to watch it. So I got to rewatch it while she watched it for the first time. And that was also an experience, like seeing her reaction to everything. It was like, it was cool. That's almost a whole show within itself, is watching somebody else experience it for the first time.
If somebody came to me and said, I want to watch Attack on Titan, but I want to watch it with you, like I want somebody to help me like start watching it and stuff, I would 100% be like, let's do it. Like I would be excited to watch all of the big moments through their eyes.
God, yeah, it's incredible. It's crazy to see other people's first reaction the first time, because it's like what's happening and they don't.
Oh yeah, no, it's so powerful, and it's. I don't recommend it to people who don't who only like upbeat things, because it's definitely never upbeat. But
no, not at all. It is one of the most pessimistic things to probably ever be made, but it's fantastic.
But it is so good. But on the other note, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I have never watched.
I was gonna say, you got it. It's so good.
Yeah, I have to put it on my list. I started watching One Piece about a year and a half ago because one of my friends really wanted me to watch it, and
So long,
and
but it's so
I
good.
am enjoying it now. But you
Hmm.
know, it's taken me a while. I'm only at episode 300.
Hmm.
And that's saying a lot when that's 300 episodes of most animes means I've watched it multiple times now.
Exactly.
And instead I'm only 1/5 of the way through.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it. But I told him the other day, I was like, after I finish this arc, I'm gonna take a break, and because I haven't been I don't watch a lot of TV unless I'm watching it with my wife, and
Hmm.
she doesn't dislike anime, but she's not. It's very much so I have to be in the mood for it for her.
Yeah, I get that.
So like, what finding time to watch TV when I'm not my extra time goes to gaming. That's what I
Yeah.
like where I like to put it. So I need to put the break on One Piece and start watching some other things. And JoJo, I'll move up the list.
Yeah, like I said, heavy recommend my all-time favorite. So, and JoJo's is good too because you don't have to watch it all at once. I'm not sure if you know about the structure of JoJo's, but each part has a different cast of characters. It's about like a family lineage. So
Oh,
it's like there's
I
multiple
literally had no idea.
JoJo's. Yeah, it's like the first season or first part is one main character and other characters, and then so on and so forth. Each time it's a different cast, so it stays fresh because it has an ongoing story because it's about a family lineage, but each season you're getting a whole new cast of characters and different ideas and different battles and stuff. So it doesn't get old in that way, which is cool.
Yeah, that's super smart, and that makes sense as to why it's been able to go. Because I know it's been
So
around since at
long.
least the '90s, if not earlier,
80s,
right?
yeah.
'80s, yeah.
So
So
JoJo's is very old, and
yeah.
the anime is so far behind that I was talking about part 7, my favorite part. That started in like I think like the early 2000s, like I think like 2001, 2002.
Oh, jeez.
Somewhere around there. And it's like they're just now starting to animate that because they didn't start animating it, I think, until 2013, 2014. So they have a long way to go before they catch up to the manga.
Dang, that is wild.
Yeah, because the manga is now on part 9, and part 8 lasted like a decade.
Oh
So
wow.
it's gonna be a very long time until they catch up.
Oh, that's impressive. But no, even knowing that helps me want to start it sooner because then I know that once I finish an arc or a what do you call it? No, I mean, they're not arcs, are they?
Uh, they're just like parts, yeah. Like it's
Parts.
part 1, part 2, part 3,
Yeah.
yeah.
So once I finish one, I know that I can move around a little bit more. Uh,
Yeah, and they get longer as they go too. But they're all excellent. So
Good. No, I like to hear that. I like when I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I love when people are passionate about anything really. Like
yeah.
there's obviously there are things I'm not interested in, like cars. Like if somebody's really passionate about it, it's hard for me to like care, but I still respect, and like the fact that they're
Mhm.
so into it makes it more interesting than
No,
just
totally.
talking about cars. So like hearing your passion for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's Bizarre Adventure, right?
Yeah.
Why do I want to say circus? Is that somewhere JoJo's Bizarre Circus? Is that ever a thing? Like, where did that come from?
Maybe.
But anyway,
That's
it
funny.
makes me really want to watch it. So,
Yeah, not to prolong the anime conversation, but I also want to give a shout out to Cyberpunk 2077 just because that's number 3, and that's another show I recommend to everybody. I think it's only 10 episodes long, super short. You can watch it in one sitting, and it's phenomenal. So
it's on Netflix.
yeah, and you don't need the context for the game or anything. It's self-contained in every way, and you'll appreciate more like the little Easter eggs here and there if you played the game, but you don't need any context. It's one of my wife's favorite shows as well, and she's never played the game. So
Well, that's pretty impressive to have made an anime based off of a game that is
based off of a board
standalone.
game.
Yeah, that is like yeah, and that it's that good. I've heard like it was reviewed really well. So
Hmm.
like
And I'm sad because they're making a second season, and I'm like, please, I'm like, don't bring anybody back. I'm like, it was the perfect one-off. I'm a big advocate of not everything needs a sequel. It's okay for things to end.
mhm.
There could be too much of a good thing, and Cyberpunk 2077 is that show for me where I'm like, it was the perfect one season of anime,
Yep.
and I never like whatever. I'll probably watch it when we do get more of it, but I'm like, I don't need more of it. Like, it was a perfect, one and done thing, and just absolute heavy recommend to everybody.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than when show doesn't know when it's run its course. and,
Hmm.
and like you enjoyed it at one point, so you continue to watch it, but you're also kind of like, why won't you die? Like, somebody kill it now. I used to love this show.
Money talks, right?
Yeah, it sure does. I always think of Heroes when I think of that, because the first season of Heroes was really good, and that
Hmm.
show fell off hard right
I've
afterwards.
heard that too. I've never watched it, but I've heard many people actually say that.
Yeah, it's a dang shame. All right, let's go on to the next question. So like I mentioned at the outset, you have your YouTube channel, Craig's Game Room, and then you also do the Generations Behind podcast with previous guest Tyler and then
Hmm.
Zach, Mr. Daily Beating.
Hmm.
What encouraged you to start both the YouTube channel and the podcast?
Yeah, so Craig's Game Room, all over the place. At one point, I'm sure at some point, because I know you're a watcher of the Bird Dog Gaming channel. I'm sure you've heard him call me Craigley at some point on one of these shows.
I think so,
That
yeah.
is because the channel started out as Craigley1234. That is also like one of my Instagrams. It's like my PSN, all these different things to this day. And the channel actually started out as like a video game review channel. All those videos are long gone, deleted. I was not really proud of any of them.
Oh,
I kind of did a mishmash of everything. I did YouTube reviews. I did like music covers at some point of like a bunch of Mother songs.
that's
I
cool.
did like end of the year videos where it's like I'll be like my favorite game, movie, and album of the year, where I'll just talk about those things. And then all that stuff is just wiped away forever. I cleared the internet of those because I wasn't a big fan of them. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do with the channel either. And I was always a big video game collector. Once I got into adulthood, and I had a little bit of extra money. I pretty much got into it right away. And I enjoyed watching the Metal Jesuses of the world and different things like that. And I was like, it'd be fun to talk about this stuff because I don't have a lot of friends that are in this hobby. So then I made the channel, Craig's Game Room. I changed the name to that, and I just started posting videos about my collection. Kind of trying to show things off, inform this, that, the other. And to this day, I still don't really know what I want to do with it. I write scripts sometimes that go nowhere. I come up with video ideas and even like start videos, but don't finish them. And I still don't really know what I want to do with it, to be honest. Because part of me would really love to do content talking about playing games as well, but I think with the almighty YouTube algorithm, it'd be better to make a separate channel for that, and then just stick to talking about actually collecting games on that channel. So that's probably going to be the future in some ways. Just continue what I'm doing. Hopefully, just upload more frequently because I mostly just do podcasts, not videos. But I want to start doing more videos because I have tons of ideas. But I've talked to my co-host, Generation Behind, about this many times, Zach and Tyler, where I'm just like, sucks when I want to make a YouTube video about playing games, and then I start and I'm like, I think I'd rather just play a game. So then no video gets made, unfortunately. But I'm trying to get better about that. I've had a bit more sparks of inspiration lately. I've made a couple of YouTube shorts about like video game store trips and different things like that. So the juices are coming slowly but surely. And for Generations Behind, this is, kind of funny and stupid, but I'll admit it. I started that podcast because I thought the name was great. And something had to be done with it.
Yeah, no,
because
that's smart.
I was like, I think Generations Behind is a very clever name for a show about people who want to play old games and haven't gotten around to them yet.
Yeah.
So,
No,
and I was like, this is too good of a name to not use it. So I asked my friend Christian, I'm like, hey, want to do a podcast with me and Tyler? Tyler's already down. Christian's like, no, I already too much stuff. He's like, you should reach out to this guy. And this guy was Zach, who I was not really acquainted with yet. So we actually kind of became friends by doing that show.
Yeah.
And Zach is now a great friend of mine. So I'm glad that Christian suggested me reaching out to him. We kind of like you and I knew each other a little bit just through the YouTube communities and different things like that, Discord, this different stuff. But we didn't really start talking until we started that show. We had maybe one or two actual conversations before we started that podcast. So our friendship really grew through doing that podcast, which is kind of neat and interesting. So
I find that very interesting because I didn't know that. And I've listened to your podcast since episode 1, and I would have never known that you guys weren't already good friends by the time we started that.
Yeah, it was most of our conversations was just short things. When I asked him if you want to do the show, I'm like, hey, Christian said that you might be interested in this. Do you want to do a podcast about retro games? And he was like, yeah, it sounds like fun. It was we barely knew each other by that point, and then we became great friends afterwards. So,
that's awesome. I'm glad that worked out like that.
So yeah, and it's all of these friendships are kind of happenstance anyway. Tyler found me through my YouTube channel. And he like just started messaging me one day, and that's how we became friends, because he
Yeah.
found one of my videos. Me and Christian became friends because we were talking, like he posted about like wanting one of the Sega 2 packs on GameCube, and I was like, I have it. And he was like, oh, that's cool. And then we became friends that way. And then I just explained Zach. So it's like all these, YouTube has brought me to 3 of my closest friends, which is really cool. Because it's a pretty unconventional way to
100%.
acquaint people. So I'm thankful for that. It's a cool thing for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a fun hobby, and no matter how much people love playing video games, when you are in collecting, it is a different spectrum. And like it's really hard to talk to people about collecting that don't get it or don't care to do it, because you just sound like a psycho hoarder to those people. So
100%.
so like when you find like the like-minded like people to talk with, it's sometimes it's really easy to find that, but it's always hard to find people you mesh with that well. So that's really impressive that you found it not once but 3 times, and you're able to start a podcast with a couple of them. So and I was just gonna say, I love the podcast. I love the YouTube channel.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very knowledgeable too when it comes to games you've played and then collecting too. Like you guys and Christian and others too in the community, extremely knowledgeable though. And I mean, I like watching because I feel like I learn something all the time, and I consider myself pretty knowledgeable. Like on a lot of the basic stuff. Just I've been engulfed in this hobby for 20 plus years, and the fact I still learn stuff literally all the time.
Yeah.
So
that's part of what makes it so fun though, is there's so much to learn, right? It's like being, it's not like how you could be a film historian. It's like you can't really be a game historian yet. And I think we're getting to that point, which is cool, but it's just there's so much stuff that's undocumented, things people didn't pay attention to, things that people didn't care about until it was too late. So it's like there's just so much discoverability, snooping around, even just like spending a day going on mobygames.com and looking at credits. You're like, oh, this guy worked on this and this and this and this and this. There's just so much to learn about the nitty gritty of, game development, just the history of games releases, the advertising around it at the time, the collectability, print runs, it's endless. It is fantastic. If you are a player of video games and a collector of video games, being interested in those 2 things is absolutely endless. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
100%. I agree. Like it's fun. I like doing I love looking back at like old commercials for video games or advertisements, and like looking back at like the late 90s, early 2000s Nintendo, and how like new
They're
Nintendo
crazy.
would never get caught dead doing some of the stuff they did in their advertising.
100%.
But just stuff like that. It's fun. I don't know. It's one of those things, like I try to explain to people when it comes to video games, like, yes, I love to play video games, but it's more than just that. Like I'm fascinated by from the base level of it being created to the art to the music. Like,
yeah, just their existence is interesting, right?
Yeah, I always think of it. Not everybody takes this seriously, but I compare it to art in a lot of ways. Like people love you buy a piece of art because you think it looks nice and you put it on your wall, and then you just look at it on occasion. That to me is like when I play a game that I love. If I played it digitally, I'm going to buy it physically because I enjoyed it that much. And that copy might not ever get played because I had it digitally, but it's a piece of art in my collection now that I feel like I'm kind of immortalizing.
I totally get it. And, I've always argued that video games are the coolest medium in general because it's the only interactable art. It's the art that someone else made that you could be a part of. And that is really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it. I could talk about this all day. So
exactly right. But no, yeah. Sorry, I think I kind of went off the rails a bit there. But yeah, it's to summarize. Thanks to YouTube and different things, I've made a lot of really cool relationships, and that's been the best part about it for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty cool story or pretty cool history, I guess, because it's just you don't hear stuff like that very often, and it's nice to know. And like I said, I'm genuinely fascinated by the fact that you and Zach weren't friends before, because you guys have that banter with each other. Like I love listening to it, but it's that banter that usually you have because you've been friends for so long. So it comes naturally to you guys. And
it helps that we have like the same sense of humor too, for sure. Like we're both very dry, very sarcastic.
Yeah, it's
good.
good.
We're good at just batting off one another. We talked, I remember, and I told him, he didn't even remember, was one time long ago on Christian's Discord, I streamed Smash Bros. Melee. I was playing Slippy online. and like he hopped in the voice chat. It was like him and Tyler, I think, were actually the ones that were on. And we were just like casually talking about Smash Bros. But it's like I didn't at the time. It's like I didn't even know that was him. I like didn't even see the name of who was on there talking.
You're just talking to him.
You know, it's like once we started doing, like, I started talking to him, getting ready to start that show. It's like I recognized his voice, and I was like, man, I'm like, that's funny. We were, you know, chatting up about the stuff we liked before we even knew each other were. So
yeah, the history in the making.
Yeah, this you know, it's cool because, you know, this hobby is pretty small and pretty hyper specific, especially when it comes to like collecting the way that like someone like you and I do, where we get like very nitty gritty. We care about like the weird niche, like low print, very specific print runs, different crazy things like that. You know, so there's not a lot of people out there that are absolute psychopaths like us. So
yeah, it's true.
You know, it's like I feel like we all have like it's cool that we're all able to become friends with one another very easily because we have such hyper specific interest. So
yeah, nobody else understands us.
Pretty much,
it's everybody else's problem, not ours.
Oh my god, I sent it to Christian the other day. This thing I saw on Reddit that made me laugh so hard because someone was posting on like a retro gaming subreddit, and they were like, you know, it's like no one else in my life, you know, no one else seems to care about retro gaming. It doesn't seem like anyone's into it. I feel like I'm kind of alone. And then the top comment replied to him, and he said, welcome to becoming an adult where you realize most people aren't interested in the same things as you. Yeah. And then the OP replied to that saying, I guess it's just me and Dynamite Heady all to myself. And I just thought that was one of the funniest sentences I ever read in my entire
That's hilarious.
I'm like, what a Paul, Dynamite Heady on the Genesis or the Game Gear if you're a real big nerd.
Yeah, that's so random. I like that.
That got a really good laugh out of me.
Yeah, that's really funny. And people are clever.
Yes, they are.
Well, if you haven't listened to it, make sure to check out Craig's YouTube channel and the Generations Behind podcast. They're both great. All right, so we have two more questions before we move on to our pickups. So next, let's talk about some of your favorite games. I said if you have anywhere from, well, it doesn't matter, any number of games, but 3 to 5 games that are some of your favorites of all time.
Yeah, you told me 3 to 5, and I wrote down, heck, I'll give you top 10. So I got my top 10 favorite games for you.
Hey, let's go.
I am an overachiever. Number 10, this is a tie, so I'm still trying to decide how this lands for me. But it's a tie between Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Oblivion Remastered. Oblivion Remastered is very new, obviously, but when I played that game when that came out this year, it evoked a feeling of fun and whimsy and wonder and adventure that I hadn't felt in a very long time. And I did not play any video games really for almost 3 weeks afterwards because nothing else was filling the void. I was like, man, nothing's hitting like Oblivion just hit right now.
Dude, that feeling is one of the best and one of the worst feelings when you finish something that was just that impactful that you don't know what to do with yourself.
Yes, you know, the role-playing, you know, aspect in terms of like the stat allocation and leveling up is very interesting and fun. You know, the graphical overhaul, you know, I love the original Oblivion because it's you know, it's ugly and goofy in very much of his time. But I think they did a fantastic job overhauling the graphics of that game. Looking beautiful. The music's fantastic. I think that the main story is actually very good. You know, I thought even though I enjoy Skyrim, the main story of Skyrim is pretty bad in my opinion, but the main story of Oblivion I thought was very good. And Zelda Wind Waker, you know, not much could be said about that game that hasn't already been said, but it's my favorite Zelda game. Even though I talked up Ocarina of Time so much earlier, Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda game. Another, you know, more open world-ish game, but, you know, I find, you know, the sailing of the open seas in Wind Waker to be very appealing, very fun. There's a lot of stuff to discover out there in the water. And the map isn't too big, you know, you can spend a lot of time in that game, but you can't spend forever in it. So it's kind of a happy medium in my opinion.
And it just looks so good still. Like
to this day, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care what console you play it on. It looks good. It's just a very appealing game.
I agree that there's a little bit of overkill with the bloom of the Wii U, but it's like so beautiful that it doesn't matter to me. I still love it. So
yeah, I'll always miss the message in a bottle feature from the Miiverse on the Wii U. It was such a cool little thing in there, but
that was really cool.
Yeah, I've never played any Elder Scrolls game. Oblivion looks, as I've always like been more drawn to Oblivion than Skyrim. But once in the open world, sometimes it's just too much. Like it's like we talked about. Like I struggle with wanting to get to it. But
yeah, I got the platinum trophy in Oblivion Remastered. I went through every faction line. I did everything that I could, and I had an absolute blast. So, as a fellow not big fan of open worlds. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'll put it on. I have it on my list. I need to. I'm kind of wanting because I didn't do a physical for it, so I'm just waiting for it to go
Nah.
on sale, and then I'll
Mhm.
probably pick it up and give it a go.
Totally worth it for $50 though, honestly, because it comes with all the DLC, the original as well. So there's a ton of content
Oh wow,
to be played there.
I don't know that I knew that because I know there was a Game of the Year edition, like Shivering Isles and stuff like that, were all part of the.
Yeah, and Knights of the Round, I believe, is what it's called. And
That,
yeah, it includes those. So
oh, that's cool. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
not a bad price at all for all the content.
Exactly. And I played the original Oblivion, but I never finished it. So I kind of want to go back to it now, but I'm just so satisfied with the remaster that um I feel like I could just play that over and over again. So because it looks like a dark, I love the dark fantasy aesthetic, and it's just so beautiful. It's like just walking around. It's like I was saying earlier, like Cyberpunk 2077, Skyrim, like just total vibes. I could just be in that world forever just because I enjoy being engulfed in it.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. And it's also saying a lot that it's such a new game that's already been able to crack your top 10.
hmm
Well, a
Yeah,
remake,
because
but still.
everything else in my top 10 has been here for I think for at least the last 5 or 6 years. So
Yeah, that's impressive.
um yeah, number 9, we got Valhalla. Have you played Valhalla?
I have not. It's a visual novel, right?
Yes, it is a visual novel slash bartending simulator. You are Jill Stingray, working at working at the bar via 11 Hall A is the way it's spelled out, and it's just phenomenal. It does a really cool thing that some games have done it, but not a ton. The entire game essentially takes place in one setting the entire time. You're pretty much only in the bar. That's where all the conversations are happening, all the actions happening. Fantastic music. I'm a big fan of the cyberpunk aesthetic. The graphical style is very inspired by like PC 98, if you know what that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
graphical style looks like, which is absolutely
Love
gorgeous.
it.
I think that this is the best written dialogue in a video game ever.
Hmm.
It feels every character and every conversation feels so real and genuine, and I've never been able to shake how good the writing in this game is. That's the main reason it's up here. Like I love the visual, I love the music, but the writing is what really is what does it for me, and the story is just phenomenal. So highly, highly, highly recommend Valhalla.
Right. I'm actually writing. I've heard of the game before, but I've never
Mhm.
paid much attention to it. But I'm a sucker for dialogue.
Oh yeah,
Like really, which part of the reason why I love Attack on Titan so much is because the
yeah,
dialogue
yeah,
in it is so good.
very good.
And it's one of those games I've heard of. I know people love it, but it's always just kind of been, just haven't paid much attention to it. So I'm
Mhm.
adding it to my list of things that I need to like get and play.
Hell yeah, yeah. It's been ported to everything under the sun at this point, but it originally was only on PC and Vita. So in my eyes, it's a Vita game forever and always.
Yeah, it's
And
perfect for
that's
this
how I
episode.
played it. That's how I got the platinum trophy. It was on the Vita version, and absolutely phenomenal video game.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to hear that. I'm always happy to play something else on my Vita, which we'll talk about
Mhm.
more in a bit.
Hell yeah. Next up, number 8, Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
I am very guilty of my first Final Fantasy is my favorite Final Fantasy, but I do not care. I love the story of Final Fantasy VII. I love the characters, the music. It's all fantastic. Um, it's hard to say what hasn't already been said about it, but it's just such an epic and insane, just absolutely crazy story. And the fact that they are writing these big epics about eco-terrorism in the 90s is just very fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I love Remake and what's the other
Rebirth.
one called? Rebirth. Yes, I've loved those a lot. Been interesting to see the direction they've gone with it. And yeah, I just love Final Fantasy VII. Sometimes I think 6 might be above it. Every once in a while, I'm like, do I like 6 more? But probably most days, if you ask me, I wouldn't. I would say 7. So that's why I say 7 over 6. But I do love 6 as well.
I love Seven. It was my first Final Fantasy as well, and
hmm
one of my first RPGs that wasn't Pokemon, Mario RPG, or Earthbound.
hmm
The only RPGs I played before it. But man, I love it. But interestingly, my favorite Final Fantasy is 8, and I'm one of like
Oh,
8
okay.
people in the world who have that as their favorite.
Now the people that love it really love it. So
Yeah, it
I
just.
need I need to go back and finish it. I had an issue where I lost everything on my PlayStation 5 and I
Oof.
didn't have PlayStation Plus at the time, so I had no cloud saves. So any
That
game that I was
hurts.
in the middle of playing at that time, just
Yeah.
I lost it all, unfortunately. So I it got unplugged while I was moving cables around my TV and I was watching YouTube. And for some reason, like I had to go to Sony's website with a USB stick and download firmware. It was
Ooh.
insane. I don't know what the heck happened to my
Yeah.
PlayStation, but that was heartbreaking. So that's why I haven't finished it yet. But 8
I,
is on my list for sure
I
because I enjoyed what I played of it.
Good. I'm glad, and I get that. When that's happened to me, it's really hard to go back and start over on a
Yeah,
game you've made a lot of progress on.
it's a total bummer.
But when you get to 8, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it. And as far as 6 goes, I just played 6 this year for the first time ever. It was one of only 3 Final Fantasies I'd yet to play.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know why I kept putting off 6, but I finally did it, and yeah, I absolutely adored it. Like once I got into it, I couldn't put it down until I was done.
Dude, that final
Loved it.
boss gauntlet is one of the most insane things ever.
Oh yeah.
Climbing up that tower.
Yeah, but it's so I'm not always a fan of those final boss gauntlets because sometimes I feel like it's just a little like they're just trying to make it hard to make it hard. But that
Oh
game
yeah,
they
it
did
sucks
it
when you get a
perfectly.
game over.
Oh yeah, but they did it so well in that game, and it was so rewarding. Like no, 6 was fantastic. I wish I wouldn't have waited so long to play it.
Yeah. It's funny. I played 6 on my iPhone many years ago. Like they're really like before the Pixel remasters were even out. Like they're really crappy iOS remakes
Yeah,
that they made. And I literally was not enjoying it so much that I got to the point to where you can go to the final dungeon of the game, and I was like, I don't even want to finish it. And then I just never like that's how much time like I had like 30 hours invested in that thing, and I just couldn't do it anymore, even though I was that close to the end.
can't
So
do it.
no, and then I played the Pixel remaster and absolutely loved it. So
Yeah, that's when I finally played it. It was on the Pixel remaster. It's one of those games I would love to own a copy of on Super Nintendo at some point.
oh yeah, that'd be awesome. I had it at one point. Wish I still did, but I traded it towards my Duo pack, so no regrets there, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of a once in a lifetime type find.
Exactly. Number 7 is Sonic Adventure, specifically the Dreamcast version because that's the best version. Just insanely nostalgic for this game. I think it's one of the most replayable games ever. It's such a breezy, fun playthrough. Every story, is pretty quick and fun. Really good music. I was a Sonic lover, straight out the womb. I've just always loved Sonic the Hedgehog.
First word,
and I was
Sonic.
exactly. I was very lucky to have a Dreamcast growing up because my dad was a really big Dreamcast fan. So I had Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, but I've always preferred Sonic Adventure 1, mostly because of the replayability. And just the movement of that game feels so good. The momentum-based physics, it just feels so good. And everyone poo-poos on that game, but I think that the people that poo-poo on it didn't play the Dreamcast version because if you know that game, you know it well, and you know that the DX ports, that got ported over and over and over again. Each time they got a little bit worse and a little bit wonkier. But if you play the Dreamcast version, you're not really going to have many problems. So
Yeah, I have a very distinct memory of when the Dreamcast was coming out, 99.99. I remember not long before that, probably a week before, I went to a store, Target or something, and they had the demo unit out. And I remember playing that and just being like, because I loved Sonic, but Sonic was like that. My parents always bought Nintendo stuff, so like I would play Sonic at the few friends that had it, but I watched the cartoon. Like I was obsessed with Sonic, and that game just like blew my mind. It's the opening level demo where the whale jumps over and everything. Obviously, and I just was like,
oh yeah.
But then I never owned a Dreamcast, so I didn't end up playing it until the GameCube version, and I still loved it.
No, it's still good. It's just there's noticeable like glitches and more like just like stuttering in strange areas. Just it something about those ports. They just you could feel it. There's the movement isn't exactly the same. But like I said, there's glitches here and there. Like when you see clips of Sonic falling through things, that's like always the DX version. So
yeah, because you guys did an episode on your podcast of Sonic Adventure, right?
yeah, that was our 3rd episode. So early on.
Yeah, I bought because I know I think before that you had mentioned, and I don't know that I was privy to that before, but I think you guys might have mentioned in prep for it that the Dreamcast version was better. So I was like, well, I still have my GameCube one, but I want to play the Dreamcast version, so I bought it. I bought a Sega All Stars version because I'm obsessed with the orange spines.
Oh yeah, they look beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the orange spine and the black manuals. They look great.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. I've had it on my list to go complete that subset, but I never actually prioritize it. But I still haven't I missed the cutoff before, like, you guys, before the episode came out. I didn't have time, and then
Yeah,
I still want to go to it. It's in the console. I have it in the Dreamcast, but I
that's
just need to
awesome.
actually sit down and play it.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, infinitely replayable. Never gets old to me. I replay it. For a long time, I was replaying it like once a year. It was one of my games I just went back to constantly.
It's a
But
comfort game.
exactly, it's one of few. I have another comfort game in here that I play almost once a year too. So we'll get to that. But number 6, this will make you happy, is Earthbound.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
I absolutely love Earthbound. Um, it was the game that got me into game collecting. It's the game that pretty much got me into playing retro games as a whole. And it's there's not a lot that can't be said already about the game. Obviously, it's very beloved. It's very funny. The rolling HP is one of the best mechanics ever be introduced in an RPG, and I can't believe that more RPGs haven't stole that over the years.
Oh, there's nothing more fulfilling than being able to finish a battle just before somebody dies, and you're like, thank God.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, when I was getting messed up by those territorial oaks, nothing felt better than being able to mash out of that after it exploded.
I know, those stupid
Stressed
explosive
me
jerks.
out.
Yeah. Oh
But
man.
yeah, it's so good. One of the most memorable soundtracks, one of the most memorable endings by far. There's so much great stuff to it. It's to me, best Super Nintendo game, not even close. So
yeah, my claim to fame, I'll use that term lightly, is that I'm one of the few people I know that played Earthbound before Smash Brothers 64 came out. So when I remember playing that, and you get to the point where you unlock Ness, and I had no idea Ness was an unlockable character, and literally I was like, what the heck? Like, I was so excited. I remember being,
awesome.
I've played, Ness has been my Smash Brothers main since then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love Earthbound. Me and my good friend Nick, he had a website he created in the late 90s, early 2000s, that we would write articles. We did like fake interviews with different characters. I did an interview with one of the blue cultists.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to dig that stuff out because I think we still have it somewhere and post it somewhere at some point.
I like that. Yeah, that'd be cool to look at.
But yeah, I Earthbound's my top 3 for sure, and I love Earthbound. It's a very special place in my heart.
Yeah, my funny Earthbound story of someone, not me, but someone that knew about it, before Smash Bros. Was my father. Bought it for the Super Nintendo back in the day. I found this out, when I became an adult, when I spent $200 or whatever it was on a cartridge, at a retro game store, and brought it home. And he was like, "Oh, what'd you get today, son?" And I'm like, I got Earthbound. And he was like, "Oh, I hated that game." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." Heck? He was like, "That was the same day buy and return." And I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "If you would have kept that, you could have sold it for a good amount of money.
We would have been rich, later. Dad."
Well, because he got it. He got it when it was new, so he had a nice big box copy, and he said that he took it back the same day because he hated it. And I was like, "Oh, breaking my heart, father."
That's crazy.
That was so funny. And I'm just like, funny. Man, I'm like, I could have been one of those cool kids that had it growing up, but you didn't like it. So.
Look what you took away from me.
Pretty much, because I didn't discover it till probably like 2011, 2012. Like, with Ness being in Smash Bros, it's like I didn't even really pay much attention to it at the time, honestly. So
yeah,
but
I mean, that makes
now
sense.
I absolutely love it.
No, I'm glad that you found it and you loved it. I wish that I would have had the foresight to buy a boxing guide, in the early 2000s when they weren't crazy expensive. But say la vie.
That's one of my favorite things I own for sure. That was a tax return treat yourself many years ago, as I got a CIB copy. So
yeah, no, that's a definite good treat yourself right there.
Well, and even at the time, I got a complete in-box copy for, I think it was like $700, which is a lot, but nothing compared to what it goes for now. So
that's not bad at all. I would gladly, assuming I had the money in the moment, I would gladly drop $700 right now on it.
God, yeah. All right, we're getting into top 5 territory. So this is where it gets serious. Number 5, a game we've already talked about a little bit on this show, Panzer Dragoon Saga. Panzer Dragoon Saga is so good. There's nothing else like it. The game has such a feeling of just like dread, and is so dreary and so dirty and worn down looking, but it fits so much to the theme and the story of the game. But really, the game's bread and butter is this amazing combat system. It is, it's semi, ATB almost, because it's like you have three meters that are charging up, and you can do different moves depending on the amount of charge you have in your meters, right?
Yeah.
But the game is also position based, so you can move to either side of the enemy, the front of the enemy, behind the enemy, and each enemy has like a different weakness in a different position. So you're moving around the enemy constantly trying to be able to do this, but the enemy is also moving around you, so you can't just hide behind his weakness once you discover it. And while you're moving around, your meters to do attacks stops moving. So it's very, very strategic, and it's such an incredible combat system. It's so fun, super, super deep mechanically. You can customize your dragon by moving stuff around too. There's in terms of like focusing on speed, defense, strength, all that stuff. The combat in that game is absolutely incredible.
It sounds really cool. Like,
it's so cool. And I feel like when people talk about this game, people don't even bring up the combat. And to me, that's what made the game. I thought it was so, so good.
yeah. I like I mentioned earlier, like my boss at GameStop is the only other person that I've ever actively known that has owned and played this game. I've heard, a handful of other YouTubers and stuff talk about how they love the game, but the fact that the few people I've ever really had a conversation with about it that owned it like it so much really says a lot about why it is as expensive as it is, given that it's also probably extremely low print run because it was a Saturn game. But yeah, that game I would love to. I want to play it someday, especially as an RPG fan, and I love dragons, so that's also cool.
I always say that it's the best game that no one will ever play. That is my like selling point for it. As I'm like, it's so good. There's nothing else like it, and most people probably either won't ever have the money to spend on a physical copy or don't want to go through the trouble of trying to emulate it.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because it is a marvel. It is, like I said, one of the best. This is my fifth favorite game of all time, so clearly I like it a lot. But
yeah,
I really do love it.
Yeah, I have everybody has some, but I have about 4 or 5 Grail items that are like they're just outside my price range, most likely ever. But that is one of them, and like there's a couple local game stores, and I feel like if I ever see it pop up in one of those, I might figure out what to trade in, or like to just pick it up. Because I have stuff that I'm probably never going to play again that it's more easily replaceable than finding a copy of one of those games. So,
yeah, when I got my copy, the luckiest I've ever been on eBay, I was the only bidder, and I got it for $300 complete in box.
Oh, dang.
And this was probably like 5 years ago. So not even that long.
Yeah,
like,
that's
even
insane.
At the time, it was like $1,000 game. So I don't think I'll ever get that lucky again.
Yeah, I feel like the game's been in the 1,000 range for
years and
like,
years.
Yeah, probably since 2010 at least.
It's like synonymous with being an expensive video game.
Oh,
so,
yeah. It was one of the games that taught me that video games
could be expensive.
Could be extremely expensive.
Yeah, the eBay seller had 0 reviews. They were a brand new seller, so I think people were like afraid to get scammed. And I was like, "What's the worst that could happen?" And it worked out in my favor.
You do it through PayPal, you usually can get your money back. So
exactly, I've gotten some good deals by buying off of 0 reviewed sellers. So
yeah, I've gotten a couple too. Nothing like that, but still like taking a couple chances. I bought a copy of Valkyria Chronicles 2 on the PSP. Dude had listed. It was a terrible picture, and he had it listed for like $10, and it was the auction was ending, and I was like, that's super cheap. Like I'm just gonna take a chance. Like 0 feedback, terrible picture, whatever. Showed up in the mail, and not only was it as shown, it was still brand new. So I was like, it's just crazy. I was like, what the heck? Like this was definitely a good gamble, but that was only like, it's like a $30-$40 game. It's not crazy, but sometimes it's worth the chance when something's a good enough price.
Oh, for sure. All right. So number 4, my favorite Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on the Nintendo GameCube. Are you a Fire Emblem fan?
I like to say I am, but I haven't. It's my favorite series that I haven't played. Because I've played Three Houses and I've played Awakening, and I loved them both. And I own every other game except for the 2 Game Boy Advance games, as far as like that have gotten releases. And I need to prioritize playing them because I want to. I have Path of Radiance. And I want to play it. It was one of my first big purchases when I got back into collecting in the late, about 2019. And I haven't played it.
Yeah, when I was early on in my collecting journey, it was one of my first more expensive games I bought. I remember I got a fully CIB copy for think it was about $110 or so.
Dang.
And I was very excited about it. I don't even remember at the time that might have been the going rate, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But I remember I really wanted it at the time. I didn't really know how to emulate games very well, and I only had, my MacBook Pro, which, a decade ago or so, emulation on Mac wasn't,
Yeah.
as up to par as it would have been on Windows computers.
Yeah.
So I wanted a copy. I bought it, and it's like I said, it's definitely my favorite. My first was Awakening, so I do love that game a lot as well. But Path of Radiance, I think, just has some really great map designs. It has a lot of really interesting little secrets that you could discover in the game just by being creative and curious and trying things out. It's so hard. This is a very hard game, admittedly. But I think that it's super rewarding because of how challenging it is. There's maps that I remember I spent like multiple hours on at one time, just trying to make sure I wouldn't lose anybody. Because I'm the kind of Fire Emblem player where if I had to play a permadeath, I'm restarting every time. I ain't losing anybody.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming home with me. But great cast of characters. I love Ike. He's a really cool protagonist. And just like I said, in my opinion, the best Fire Emblem. So shout out to Path of Radiance. I need to play Radiant Dawn still, which is the Wii sequel. I've never gotten around to it, so
Yeah.
I really need to do that.
I've heard good things. I hear people love both of them. I need to prioritize Path of Radiance this year.
It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's very hard in my opinion, but I do think that it is the best one from what I've played at least. So
Yeah, I just love the GameCube too. Like playing, I don't mind having an excuse to play on my GameCube.
Yeah, right.
I just need to get to that this year. I need
And
to
it's
do a
gonna
little
be on
bit.
Switch too online. So
Yeah, it is. I think, and I did get a GameCube controller, so I have that. But man, I like booting up the GameCube.
oh, it's the best. I have way too many GameCube consoles, more than any one human should own. So, but
Boot
it's
them
like
all
I
up
have.
at the same time.
Oh my god, I know. I think I have 15 consoles, like just GameCube. I'm a crazy
Oh
person.
dang!
And
You're making a GameCube fort.
Exactly. Most of them are different. Like I have like different color variations and special editions and stuff. But it's like I definitely just have like 4 or 5 like black and silver ones sitting in my closet that I've had over the years too. So
Do you have one of
I
those
hoard them.
Tales of Symphonia ones that like teal? Is it teal?
I
Like
do have that one.
that is a real
It's really
pretty
cool.
console.
Yeah, I have that one complete in box. That's one of my favorites for sure.
Dude, that thing is cool. That and
Yeah, that
the
was
Spice Orange one. I love both of those.
yeah. I got that Spice Orange. I got the Gundam one. I got the
That's
Henson
cool.
Tigers one. I have all this crazy
Dude,
GameCube stuff.
I've seen
Um,
that one's super uncommon, right?
Yeah, I even have it with the special bag that they would sell it to you in from the stadium and the jersey.
That
I
is
got
so
like
cool.
I am I at one point in my life I was like the GameCube guy. Like I had everything, I knew everything. So
You should do a video just on the console variants.
I would
Like,
love to do that
you,
one day. I have a whole shelf in my game room where it's just all of my GameCube like variant consoles next to each other. I got like a Smash Bros pack in. I got like a Paper Mario pack in. Tons of cool
dude,
stuff.
that's
So
super cool. Yeah, I have
yeah, so not to sound like a bragger. I'm not. I'm just proud of it because I love the GameCube so much.
100%. You should be proud of it. That's a fun that's a fun collection to have. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, GameCube used to not be so insanely unaffordable
Yeah.
way back when. So, like when I got the GameCube set, I probably spent less than $5,000 for all those games total. And it's like now, if you got like the top 5 most expensive GameCube games, I think it would be over $5,000. So times have changed
Yeah, and that's not including at least a complete Pokemon box.
with the outer box, right?
Yeah, you may have heard me talk about this before, but one of my biggest, it's a big regret, but not at the same time. But when we were getting married, and obviously I'm still married, and I absolutely love my wife, so I don't regret this. But when we were getting married, I was like, I'm gonna sell off some of my collection to help pay for the honeymoon and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we were young and somewhat broke, and
Yeah.
I was like, man, I had a copy of Pokemon box that I bought from Nintendo Online. I had the big box and everything. I even had a couple of pins that it came with that were like
That's cool.
bonuses. One was Dugong and the other was Tentacruel, and it was totally in perfect shape because I've always taken really good care of my stuff. And it was selling for like $300, and I was like, dang, I got to do it. Like I don't ever use this thing. Like $300 is that was a big deal, and yeah, like I said, I don't regret selling it because it was for the right reason. It would suck if we'd like gotten divorced 2 years later or something. But I still like part of me like wishes I could go back and be like, let's just
Sell something else
sell
instead.
something else and keep that.
Yeah. No, I get that totally.
Okay, so that was number
All right.
4.
That was number 4. So
Okay.
number 3, Persona 4 Golden.
Ah,
Huge Persona fan. Um, 4 is my favorite. I haven't played every Persona game, so I mean, I'm one of those fake fans that's only played 3, 4, and 5. Unfortunately, I've played about half of 1, just never finished it, and then I never dived into 2 or 2.
no, it's so funny.
But exactly, but hopefully soon. That is actually, I talk about not having a backlog, but those games are definitely high up on like the priority list that I really want to play this year.
Yeah.
But Persona 4 Golden is my favorite one. I'm very skeptical because they announced a remaster recently, and I'm in the camp of this game does not need a remaster. 3 had some problems; it definitely needs some brushing up in terms of gameplay. But 4, I think, is perfect the way that it is. The music's fantastic. My favorite cast of characters, probably like in any fictional anything like TV shows, movies, games. I love the characters in Persona 4 Golden so much.
Yeah, and the fact that it sounds like they recast most of the voice actors too.
Mhm.
That's
And
kind of a
that's
bummer because they were really good. Like,
no, I am insanely attached to those voice actors and those characters
yeah,
too. So it's gonna feel so wrong. Like I remember being a little ruffled even when they recasted the P3 cast, but I'm much more attached to all of these people that played everyone Persona 4. But I think the main reason that they recasted them is because most of those actors are way bigger now than they were
that's
back
true.
then. I mean, Laura Bailey,
Yeah.
Yuri Lowenthal, Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah.
These are like
They're all pretty
really
big names
popular.
in the
Exactly, and
in
I
the
think
voice
that
acting community.
I think that they just as much as I think that a lot of those people probably would have came back for cheap. I think that they probably just costed too much, honestly, and I think that's the main reason they're getting recast because these characters are so synonymous with their voice actors. Like I couldn't tell you a single person in the world that played Persona 4, with the original Japanese voice acting. Like people love the English voice acting.
Oh, it's
Persona
so good.
4.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And that's gonna break my heart. But I love Persona 4. It's one of my most. It makes me so sad that I still don't have the platinum trophy in Golden. But it's just so much work.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna make a point to at least get it before the remake comes out. I feel like I owe the game that because of how much I love it. I have played it twice, which is a bummer because you have to play the game twice to get the platinum. But the reason I don't have it is because at one point my Vita memory card died, so I didn't have my New Game Plus save anymore.
Oh.
So I wasn't able to get the platinum by playing it a second time. Exactly.
Because they're not short games.
No, exactly. I think the first time I played it was about a 90-hour playthrough. Second time I played it, I skipped a lot of the cutscenes just because I already know it all. And even skipping all the cutscenes, it was still like a 50-hour game.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter what, this is a long experience. But I am going to play through it a third time before Persona 4 Revival comes out because I've always wanted to get a platinum at this game. And I feel like it's almost a badge of honor amongst trophy hunters because this was considered like one of the OG hard JRPGs to platinum back in the day. Like it was considered an accomplishment if you got this. And even to this day, it's like, it's still a pretty low completion. I think it's still like under 2% on Vita. So
and for a game that's as beloved and as played as that's pretty. That's saying a lot about how hard the platinum trophy is to earn.
It's because of that stupid Rise trophy. I don't know if you know about that or not, but so you've played Persona 4, right?
Yeah,
so,
I haven't. I never played Golden, but I played it on PS2.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so you're real cool. You played the OG. But I know eventually I want to play the vanilla version as well on PS2 just to say that I did. I'm sure I would notice some differences here and there. But the trophy is for how Rise has like all of her lines while you're in battle, like, oh, they're weak to this. Watch out for this. This enemy is strong.
Yeah.
You have to get like a certain amount of unique voice lines for her to say. And it's a lot. I think it's like 200 unique lines. And it's just really hard to hit that number because it's so RNG based.
Yeah, that's just completely random.
Exactly. And it's like, to this day, people still don't know what counts and what doesn't count in terms of like, oh, you check the status of the enemy to look at his weakness. Does that voice line count? Does it only count if her little bubble comes up in the corner? Does it count if you're outside of battle? To this day, people still don't know, which is absolutely hilarious.
So sometimes they just get it to pop and they're like, let's go.
Exactly. 13 years later, people still don't know. But like people have made Excel spreadsheets of like every line that can be said for every character. Like people have gone absolutely bananas for this. And when it comes time for my third playthrough, I got the Excel spreadsheet ready and I'm going to like write down every single line she says because I'm like, I need to get, but then it's so funny because it's like, you'll go online and you'll see some people just got it naturally. And then some people have had to play the game 4 or 5 times for the
Yeah,
trophy to pop,
that
and
is.
that's terrifying.
I hate. I love trophy hunting, but I hate
Oh
those
yeah.
random trophies because if I mean like skill based ones are a pain, but when you get it, you at least feel rewarded. When it's
Hmm.
that random and like you just have to sit there and grind something, oh, it drives me absolutely. But it can take all the joy out of a game or out of trophy hunting.
Dude, when I played Final Fantasy VI, I wanted to get the platinum in every Final Fantasy I play.
Hmm.
So I made sure to get the platinum in that. Of my 60 hours of playtime, 10 hours of that was for an RNG trophy where I think his name's Setzer, the dude with the ship and the gambling. You
Yeah.
have to get like straight sevens.
Uh huh.
It took
Completely
me 10
random.
hours. Yeah, it took me 10 hours to get that trophy.
Yeah. It's such a
And
pain.
I was, uh, it killed me. I was like, I never want to turn this game on again.
That was just on the same Final Fantasy note. Crisis Core re reunion.
Yeah.
There is a trophy in that where you have to roll. I don't remember. I think it's like you have to roll each character's set of 3 in that upper
Oh
right
my
thing.
God.
I just had one that would not roll. I'd finished the game and I'd gone back and just done random stuff. I literally would just went into the training room and would just let it run for hours trying to get it to
It just
just
wouldn't
happen
happen.
randomly. I looked up a guide and found all the information to do the best that I could get it. And it literally, I have like 70 hours of playtime on that game because I just had to let it run and run and run and run until I finally got it. And I'm too stubborn to
Insane.
not have gotten the platinum trophy when I was that
Exactly,
close.
because it's like you can't lose to one trophy. You got to dedicate your life and knock that out
Yeah.
because it'll
Oh,
haunt you forever, knowing that you're one achievement away.
yep.
My whale for that right now is in the Sega the last. It's been a few years now, but the last like Sega Genesis collection that came out on all the
Oh,
consoles.
yeah.
I'm missing one trophy for that, and it's been haunting me for years, dude. But I
Yeah.
just can't get it.
I get it. I that for me is Attack on Titan, the PS4 game.
Mhm.
Love the game to death, but there is a grind element to it that is so grindy that I had to be like, I'll come back to this later. And I still haven't gone back to it. And I think about it all the time because it's the one I did everything else. And I'm just like, I have to go grind all this material for this long to make. Ugh, it's just not
It hurts.
excited about it. Yeah.
It hurts. All right, my number two. We're getting up there. Gravity Rush Remastered. Not the original Gravity Rush, not Gravity Rush 2,
The
the Gravity Rush
remaster.
Remastered on the PS4. Gravity Rush is one of those games I was mentioning that I go and replay some games, almost once a year, like that much of a regular basis. Gravity Rush is one of those for me. Gravity Rush is like my ultimate comfort game. Cat is my favorite character in all of fiction. I absolutely love Cat. And I just think these games are extraordinarily special. I think Sony did them real dirty. It didn't provoke Gravity Rush 2 as much as they should have. Gravity
Yeah.
Rush should be like a staple franchise for Sony. Um, People, I think, treated Gravity Rush a little bit too harshly. I think that the game's control incredibly well. The music is phenomenal. Fun fact for you, since you're watching One Piece, if you've ever wondered why the music sounds so good and familiar in One Piece, it's because the same composer did Gravity Rush and
Huh.
Gravity Rush 2. So
Yeah.
if
I
if
did
you
not know
compare
that.
and contrast, you could definitely hear some similarities in the way that the music is written.
I'll have to
But
listen
yeah.
for that because I need to play Gravity Rushes still. I have it, but I
Oh,
haven't
you
played it
haven't?
yet.
Okay, sorry. I just assumed you did for some reason. I'm sorry, but I like it's the best superhero game ever made. Period, bar none. I could play it over and over and over again forever. I got the platinum on the Vita. I got the platinum on PS4. I just the story is wonky, but it's a good wonky.
Yeah.
It's like borderline anime, but not. A lot of the art and music and aesthetic of the game is very French inspired, which is interesting. So it's a little bit different in that way too. People talking a lot about Expedition 33 recently because it's a very French game made by French people, inspired by French art and all these different things. But I always thought it was interesting. Gravity Rush had a very French twist to it for being a Japanese-made game. It has its own language that's like a kind of gibberish combination between Japanese and French. It's very fascinating. But this is a game I would recommend to anybody and everybody. And another game that's just infinitely replayable. It has tons of like extra challenge missions stuff, and I love chasing the high scores in those games. I wish that the online servers were still a thing in Gravity Rush 2 because it would be fun to try to do that.
Yeah.
If I ever were to be a hardcore speedrunner of a game, it would be for Gravity Rush. I've always thought about attempting that, but people are absolutely crazy with how precise you can be in these games with the way that it controls, because the controls are very complex. A little bit hard to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, you get the hang of it. The camera is the biggest struggle just because you're manipulating gravity, flying around, so everything's kind of flying all over the place. So it takes a while before you get used to it, but once you click, there's nothing quite like it. It plays so good.
Yeah, I need to play it. We're going on a trip next week, and I always bring two handhelds with me, and I'm gonna bring my Vita and my DSi actually.
Nice.
But yeah, that's one of the games I had that I was gonna prioritize playing on this trip was Gravity Rush
How
because it's
exciting.
kind of like my biggest, as far as somebody who's collecting for Vita now, like my biggest sin that I haven't played it yet because it's kind of like one of the Vita games.
Yeah, right.
But I might. No, I'm not even gonna lie. I might play Valhalla first now that we've
Okay,
talked
yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
Because
also an excellent choice.
yeah, but yeah, no, I need to play it. I've heard you talk about it on your podcast before and how much you love it, and I know you have like a pretty good Gravity Rush like collection of like merch too, right? Like
Oh
promo
yes, I
items
have.
and stuff.
I got a ton of crazy, weird, interesting stuff. So I'm a big collector because there's a surprisingly large amount of stuff out there, but it's hard to collect for because almost none of it came out in America.
Yeah,
So it's a lot of like sniping on Buy and weird websites like that to find cool, interesting stuff. But it's like, I'll come across like prepaid phone cards and just like the most random stuff, and I'm just like, I need all of it.
yeah. It's got to
It's
be
so
fun
cool.
when you actually find it though.
There's like they have like Sony Walkmans that are Gravity Rush branded and like headphones
Dude,
that
that's
Sony made and
cool.
stuff. There's tons of awesome stuff. It's hard to find, and I get annoyed every time I try to bid something someone outbids me. I'm like, who else in the world cares about this but me? It's one of those things where I'm like, who else cares?
Yeah, no, that's
But
me. That's me with
it's really
Tojim and
cool.
Earl. I love Tojim and Earl. I collect Tojim and Earl. Anything related I can find, and every once in a while I'll find something.
Mhm.
I'll be like, "That's super uncommon," and I'll bid on it, and somebody will outbid me. I'm like, "There's more than one of us. Like, where are you
You're
at?"
like, let's be friends. You also like Toe Jam and Earl?
Yeah, like there's not many
That's
of us
funny.
out here.
That's awesome. All right. Sorry, this has been going on forever.
No,
Number
that's all right.
one game of all time, Mother 3. Mother
Ah,
3 is my favorite game of all time. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I I
I
did.
probably mentioned it at some point, but yeah, Mother 3 I think is the peak of the medium. I think that is the only, you know, and for my taste, the only perfect video game that's been made. You'll laugh, you'll cry. Has a lot of great mechanics, like from Earthbound, the great humor, the gameplay mechanic of the rolling health. The combat is awesome because it's like half rhythm game, half turn based is excellent. Everything about it is just it is the peak of video games in my opinion.
Yeah, I Earthbound, so Mother 2 is one of my
Mm-hmm.
absolute all-time favorite games, and I've still never played Mother 3. And it's a
Gotta,
it's
you
a
gotta.
sin. Like for a long time it was, I'm not going to play it until they bring it here, like I'm going to play it when they finally bring it. And I no longer believe at all that it's ever going to actually show
No,
up in America. So
no, I don't think so either.
I do need to just play it. What I want to get is one of those repro cartridges that people make so I can play it on my analog pocket.
That's how I played it
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah, I need to
Only
play it.
time actually, but I've only ever played my favorite game once. So
Yeah, but I mean that says a lot that you only had to play it once for it to stick the landing
yep.
that hard.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds silly, but I'm afraid to play it again. Like I don't want my opinion to change. Like my memory of it is so perfect and how much I enjoyed it and loved it that I'm like I don't ever want anything to impede that. So it's like if that means never playing it again, I'm honestly okay with that because I remember super well. It left such an impact on me, and I don't think anything will ever top it. So
Yeah, that's impressive, and I understand that too, because I've talked before about how much I love the Suikoden series,
hmm
and when the remasters came out, like I was excited, but I was also a little like nervous because I hadn't played one or two, no matter how much I remembered loving them. I played through them both a couple times, but I hadn't played them since before I started working. So like I
a
was like
long time ago,
16,
yeah.
17, so it's been
hmm
20 years, and I was just like that. I was like a little nervous because I was like, what if it's not as good as I remember? Like I always talk about how it's one of my
Yeah,
favorite RPG series, but luckily I was like, as I was playing it, I was like, it's just as good as I remember, and I'm like all emotionally invested again, and like,
that's awesome.
yeah. So no, that's a great list, man. Those are 10 great games and a lot of games that I still need to get to. Yeah, Path of Radiance. I have got to get to it this year. And Mother 3 is one of my like personal sins because of how much I love Earthbound.
Yeah, I get that. And a lot of people, Some of them prefer Earthbound, some of them prefer Mother 3. So who knows? Maybe that'll take its place and be third. Who
Yeah,
knows?
you never know. I need to play it so I can find out.
Have you played Earthbound Beginnings?
I did, yeah. When it came out on Wii U,
Oh, cool.
that day, I downloaded it like right afterwards because I was
I
just
did
so
too.
blown away.
I had played a fan translation beforehand, but I also, as soon as that got announced for Wii U, I'm like, anytime Mother shows up in America, I gotta pay up, show my support,
Oh yeah, I'm pretty
so
sure I
that
told
people
all my
care
friends
about
like, you
it.
have to buy this. Like, I don't care if you don't want to play it, please
Just
support
financially
this.
support this,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But oh man, it was so funny because it really was such a tease in a way when they announced that game, because it's like you saw Shigesato Itoi, and I think everyone just assumed Mother 3 first,
yeah.
but then nope, Mother 1.
God, their relationship with Mother 3, it's almost like they're purposely toying with us, but
I I think the game has a handful of moments in it that'll keep it from ever getting localized.
yeah,
Is
I've
is my
heard.
opinion. So I think honestly now more than ever they could probably not have a problem with localizing it in terms of like controversy, so to say. But I don't know. I almost think that they prefer it this way.
Yeah,
Like Itoi knows about the fan translation. He knows how widespread it is that millions of people played it. And he gets just as much say as Nintendo does. So I almost feel like he's just like they already have access to it. If they want to play it, they can play it.
yeah,
And he already makes enough money off of all the millions of other things he does in Earthbound merch and stuff. So
yeah,
I think that they don't care because they're like, if people want to play it, they already have a way to play it.
yeah. I think you're right. I remember this is on topic to this.
Mm-hmm.
But probably no, about 2007, 8. That translation had already come out, and I hadn't. That was at the peak of when I should have played it, but I was being stubborn because I wanted it to come out
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
Starman.net, which you're probably familiar with, they
Mm-hmm.
they had posted an art. They posted that Nintendo had sent them a cease and desist letter to take it down, take the translation down.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fuming. Like I was so mad that this was happening, even though I hadn't played it yet. I was so mad that this was happening. I sent Nintendo. I've never told anybody this before. I sent Nintendo an email like about how mad I was that they refused to give us the game, that they would take away this translation. I went on a whole tirade. Like I tried to.
That's
It's still
awesome.
just being me. I tried to be nice, like I wasn't trying to be,
Uh-huh.
but I was just like, I need to let them know. And then the next day, me being me totally didn't pick up on this, but it was an April Fool's joke. So so it didn't happen. Obviously, the translation was not called, and I was like, oh crap.
That's funny.
But
You're
yeah,
like, oh, I just let them know about its existence.
yeah. Luckily, my email probably went straight to spam. So
But yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I definitely wasn't there for all that, but I've read about it. There's a really good documentary about it as well.
mhm.
So
I haven't watched it
tons of
yet,
great
but I
stuff
have
out
it
there to
sitting
learn
over
about
there.
it. So, oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I need to watch it.
It's really funny, just because Toby Fox is in it, famously the creator of Undertale.
Hmm.
But they don't use his name; they only use his Starman.net screen name. So it's like you wouldn't know it's him unless you knew who he was.
That's so funny.
And I think I almost think I don't know. I thought that was funny because I was like, I'm sure that was actually his decision because he didn't want. People know his name, so I think that he didn't want that to take away from the rest of the documentary,
Yeah.
just that he was in it.
I respect that.
I thought that was really funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like we know what he looks like and he's out there, but it's like he's a very strangely anonymous dude for being like the most famous indie dev possibly of all time.
Yeah. I don't think if you asked me to that I could pick him out of a lineup. I know I've seen him before, but I couldn't
Mhm.
place it right
Yeah,
now if you asked me to.
there's a fairly famous photo of him with Shigesato Itoi because they've met each other before. So
Yeah, I think that's what I've seen. I'm trying to
Mhm.
like put the face to him. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to the one-ups and pickups now, and I'm gonna give Craig a few minutes here to breathe before he goes over some of his recent ones. I'm gonna talk about some of mine. So I'll do my GameStop pickups real quick. So, like a lot of people, I also got a Switch 2 at launch. I picked up Mario Kart World. So I panicked in the pre-order phase, and I thought, like, if I go for a bundle with Mario Kart, I'm somehow not going to be able to get a pre-order, and then I'm not going to be able to get one on launch, and yada yada. So I went with a bundle without it, and then ended up buying it physically. But I forgot to grab it, so I don't have it.
You might be one of the 10 people in the world that actually has a physical copy
Yeah.
of Mario Kart World.
And I do, and it's weird because literally nobody else that I know bought a physical copy, I think.
It's so funny.
But other game I picked up, which I haven't played yet, but I do want to get to it, is Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma. I like Harvest Moon, like the old Harvest Moon games. I like Story of Seasons. I've never really played a Rune Factory game. I'm not going to lie, I bought this at least 90% because it's one of the few games that was complete on cart at launch, and I kind of wanted to just support them in that decision. But I do plan on playing it. And then a couple other GameStop pickups that I had. They were doing that sale where they had a bunch of stuff on sale for $15.
Yeah.
So I drove for work on Sundays. I end up sometime having to go all over the state to go do like biohazard cleanups.
Oh.
And it can take me all over the place. And like I had to go really far north, so I stopped at a bunch of GameStops along the way because I was looking for the Tales of Cold Steel 3 and 4 combo pack, and I was looking for the Rhapsody game on PS5. Didn't find those, but I found this one, which I was excited about, Return to Monkey Island. On PS5. I'm a big fan of point-and-click adventure games, and I love the first Monkey Island. And I didn't know that this got a retail release, so I was just excited to see it. I thought it was a limited run thing, which they apparently were one of the publishers or something, but it's not a numbered release for them. And I also got this just because it looked like it probably is something that I'd like. Ray Natus. I don't know much about it, but it was only $15. That was kind of an impulse buy just because it looked like I'd probably like it. And then I bought.
Hey, sometimes that's fun to do.
Yeah, that's how I buy stuff for $15. I was like, why not? And I bought Legend of Legacy as well. It was one that I was looking for. I've never played the 3DS version, but I'll get to it eventually. And then I bought a 360 game, which I don't do very often.
Oh.
I found a copy of 99 Nights 2.
And
I had some coupons and stuff, so it was only like $20.
Nice.
And I do want to play both of these games. I think they look really cool. So I was excited about that.
Let's go.
And then lastly, I have another small stack I'm going to go over to. But me and my buddy Jaden, we went and did some hunting, went to a handful of stores. I did a trade-in at one store. I'm going to show that stuff in a second that I picked up there. But one of the other games I got was World to the West, which I know nothing about, but it's a Soadesco game. And I just kind of like to collect games from this publisher. And then we went to a pawn shop, and I found another Soadesco game that I'd never heard of called Pharaonic, which is like an Egyptian game. This was only like $5. And then I was talking to the guy, and he was like, hey, this game doesn't have multiplayer. I'll give it to you for $3. So I was like, all right, thanks.
It's a strange parameter to base pricing off of, but why not?
All right, and the other 3 games I got at that store, and the main reason I went was because like I said, it was a bunch of bulk and stuff I just wanted to trade in. But I knew they had some Vita games in stock, so I went and picked up a few. I got Rayman Legends, and I got
beautiful game.
Yeah, I've never played Legends. I just played Origins earlier this year and loved it, so I'm looking forward to playing this. Then I picked up Muramasa Rebirth. So I'm happy to have that one. This is also high on the list of Vita games I want to play.
Also insanely beautiful art.
Yeah, the Vanillaware, their art style is just something else, man. And then the last game I got, this one was more just because I had a bunch of credit left over and I don't go there that often and I just wanted something else. I picked up Oddworld Stranger's Wrath HD, which is a limited run game for the Vita, which I'm not like actively collecting limited run games, but when it's something I want to play, I'll buy it, and I'd like to play all the Oddworld games at some point, so I figured why not.
Highly recommend.
Yeah,
I'm a big Oddworld fan, actually.
I've always heard they're fun, and I like the art of it. So, like, I do need to get to it. I have New and Tasty, and I know that's a good starting point.
Oh yeah, Lorne Lanning is one of the best game devs of all time. He's super underrated. He has like a 4-hour interview that I could send you the link to.
Yeah,
it's one of the most interesting listens that you'll ever listen to. He's like, you could just listen to this man talk for hours. He's one of those people that's just fascinating.
Yeah, I would like to listen to it. I love listening to game devs talk about their time with the different games they've worked on, and sometimes they just have really good stories of being in the industry. Okay, so my last couple pickups, another Vita game. I got a copy of Akiba's Beat, which you can't really
Oh,
see. I bought this because it was on eBay. It was ending, and people listening can't see, but it came with this little plush.
yes.
And it was like $25, and
Hmm.
that's about the price of just the game by itself. And so this is sealed behind here. It's still wrapped in this with this plush, and I was just like, I'll get into this a little bit more once we get to the main topic. But one thing that I don't normally do that I've done a lot more with Vita is I've been kind of obsessed with like these like special editions they've done.
Hmm.
Um, anyway, I just thought that was cool, and I'm
Yeah, it is.
working on a Vita set, and I figured why the heck not. Okay, my last couple. This was a Macari purchase. I've talked about this before, but sometimes like I'll put something on watch on Macari, and then the price will drop and drop and drop. And then once it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, that's kind of where I want it. If it's still available, like what I'll usually do is go in, look at the other stuff they have, and then like add something else and make an offer where I can possibly get one of the things like really cheap.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, and that I find that it works pretty often. So
Hmm.
like, and they're agreeing to it, so I'm not taking advantage of them. And this was a game I had on watch. It's a Naruto Ninja Council on Game Boy Advance.
I love that game.
I haven't played it, but I'm excited to.
So
And
good.
this box is like pristine. Like,
It looks good.
yeah, of course it's got a box protector on it now, but there's like no creases on it anywhere. It's probably one of the nicest boxes I've seen in a long time.
That's awesome. That's a
Um,
childhood game for me.
yeah, and it was only like $30. I'm glad to hear you like it too,
Wow.
because I don't know much about it. Yeah, and that's a lot cheaper than what it goes for. But it had been
Hmm.
on there for a while, and he had it dropped down to 30. So then I was like, well, what else does he have? And I saw that he had a copy of Xevious on the Game Boy Advance,
Oh.
which I kind of want to passively collect, the classic NES series. But
Hmm.
this box, on the other hand, like I don't know if you can see, is completely trashed. It has tape
Well
on the
loved.
bottom. It's complete. It has everything in here. But I managed. I think I offered him like $33 for the two, and he took it. So I was like, yeah, that's a good deal. I basically got this game for completely free.
Yeah. Hey, a well-loved copy of Xevious. You don't see that often.
Yeah,
Who actually played
yeah,
Xevious?
right. I know. I played it when it was one of the 3D classics on the 3DS, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think that's the last time I'll probably have ever played it. Um, and then my last pickup. This was extremely impulsive. It's a game that was on my list for the DS, but it's Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. One of the crazy names. But the reason I bought this, because I do want to play it. I've never played it. I've only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. But the reason I bought it is because the listing had this dope slipcover,
Oh, it has the slipcover. Let's go.
and it was like $45, and I was like, it's not that much more than what just the game goes for. And it was ending, and I was like, impulse one. I was just like, that's cool, and I'm glad I bought it because this slipcover is super cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say about it. I just was like, it
Yeah.
was completely and utterly impulsive. I was sitting on the couch, and we had a friend here, and I was like, oh man, I never see this pop up. Like, I forgot it even existed. It was ending
Yeah.
in 3 minutes, and I was like, I'm just gonna bid on it. So
And you got it.
I got it.
I have a very funny memory with that game because I didn't finish it. Because when I played it growing up, I never owned it. I borrowed my friend's copy, and eventually he was like, "Yo, I want my game back." So I just never got to finish it because I couldn't beat it before he wanted it back.
That sucks.
So it's like I love that game, but I've never finished it because I own it now as an adult, but I just never started playing it again. But as a young lad, I was never able to finish it because I didn't own it. I basically used my friend as my own personal blockbuster, and I ran out of time. So
He said you're gonna start paying late fees.
exactly, and I did not have money at that time because I was a child.
Yeah. All right, you have some pickups to share.
Yes, so not that it matters for the audience, I guess, since there's no video for this podcast, but you won't see them either because I actually don't have any of them in the room with me.
No
But I can
worries.
tell you what I got. So first two are two complete in box NES games. A shout out to the good friend Christian Bird Dog Gaming. He went
Nice.
to a gaming convention and he went to a booth, and I think part of it was to make fun of me, but also to see if I actually wanted them. Famously, like two of my favorite NES games of all time are Disney's The Little Mermaid and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
These two just like super random games that no one ever talks about, but I think that they're super fun, super underrated. And he went to a booth and this guy had both of them complete in box. And I was like, all right. I was like, I think the sticker prices on them were like basically like $60 each, and I was like, offer the guy 80 because he'll probably say no, but if he takes it, then I'll buy them. And he was like, all right, send me $80. And I was like, dang it, like I wasn't actually planning on spending the money, but I ended up getting those games, and I'm actually happy about it because I absolutely love these games. Little Mermaid is super weird, super short. I'm still convinced to this day that's the inspiration behind the gameplay in Klonoa. It's super weird.
Because you
how
bubble
similar...
them, right?
Exactly, you bubble the enemies and you throw them. I'm like, there's no way Klonoa didn't get it from this. That's so funny.
Have you looked to see if any of the devs happen to have any crossover there? I'd be curious.
I don't think so, but it's like I have to know because it was Capcom developed, so it was made in Japan. So who knows? There could be something there. And then the Adventures Tom Sawyer is just like a weird, like kind of like 2D adventure platformer kind of game. But another one where it's just like a really short, fun, creative romp. It's funny because the controls almost feel like a Castlevania game to me, which sounds crazy, but it's like imagine Castlevania except your weapon was just a projectile instead of the whip, and that is how it feels to me. Like the way that your movements jump, like how you're committed to your jump when you jump and different things like that. Very similar in that way, which is strange. And Zach made fun of me for saying that because he said that we need more Tom Sawyer likes, and I thought that was a really good joke. Next up, I went to Zia Records in Las Vegas, Nevada. You might know Zia Records since I know you've been here in town. Pretty famous record store chain here.
Yeah, I've heard of them, but I've never been to one.
And in Arizona as well. They're awesome. They're great. They have a little bit of everything. Obviously, mostly record CDs, cassette tapes, all that kind of stuff. But they do sell, games, VHSs, DVDs, Blu-rays, manga, pretty much any kind of collectible you could think of. And when I was looking through their games, they had a brand new copy of Concord on the PS5 for $7. And I was like, that'd be funny to own. So I bought it for $7.
Dude, that's perfect. Best game ever.
Well, exactly. I'm like, me and a lot of the other people we associate with, we like to talk about collecting historically significant games, and I'm like, even if it's in a bad way, this game is very historically significant to Sony's lineage.
If I saw a copy of it for $7, I'd buy it. I'd probably even pay a little bit more than that just to have it.
If it was like 20, 30, I probably wouldn't have been down, but for $7, I was like, this is funny.
Yeah,
it's kind of a fun thing to own, especially since it's like a completely unplayable, useless game now.
Yeah, but it is massive part of history right now too. Like, and it always will be. The fact that it came out and was canceled within 2 weeks.
Yeah, like probably the biggest first party failure of any game ever from any of the main manufacturers. So
yep, I 100% believe that has got to be correct. They put so much money into that game.
And then next up, these two were interesting and weird. So they recently opened up a Pink Gorilla in Las Vegas, which is really cool. I know that's a nice big famous retro game store chain in Washington.
Yeah, they're cool. I love those stores.
Yeah, and they got in a couple of big box Sega Saturn games for Japanese Saturn, which I thought was cool. So I had to pick those up. One of them was Yumimi Mix Remix, which is a enhanced port of a Sega CD game where it's essentially an interactive comic book where the whole thing just kind of plays out on itself, but every once in a while you can make a choice of what happens, and that affects the story. So I mostly just bought it because I thought it was cool and interesting. It was a big box game, and it was I think $10, so super cheap. Yeah. And then the other one was I forget the name of how you say it in English. I'm gonna look real quick just because there might be one or two people in the world that actually care. So just in case, Galaxy Frailin Yuna. It was a special edition of the game. It was an enhanced version of an adventure game for the TurboGrapx. And it came with the game, it came with a calendar, and then the actual box that the game came in was like a folder, which was super interesting. That's and weird.
Crazy.
So
yeah.
A very strange thing. This was also like $8. So I was like, I mostly just bought these because they were cool and cheap. I'm like total shelf collector mentality, but I just thought that they were fun. And big anime guy, big Saturn guy, all these different things. So I'm like, it's just a cool thing to own.
I think when something just looks cool on the shelf, it's hard not to, especially when the price is right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and both these games, anime aesthetics, they both have English translation. So if I want to play them in some way, shape, or form, I can. Mm-hmm. It's interesting though, because for the Galaxy Frailin Yuna, no matter where I looked, I could not find gameplay of this game, only of the TurboGrafx version. So I'm like, it's weird how undocumented the Saturn version is. So I'm like, I actually kind of want to whip out like the Japanese Saturn and see what it looks like, because I couldn't find gameplay of it, which I thought was super
Yeah,
weird.
that would be
Because there's gameplay of every game in the world, essentially at this
yeah,
point. So the fact that I couldn't find anything, I thought was very strange.
that is super odd. So you
But
can
yeah,
be the first.
exactly. So it is cool. It's an adventure game where you mostly just choose what you're doing. But then every once in a while there's turn-based battles, which is interesting. So it seems like a cool,
Yeah,
unique game.
that sounds like a good concept. I like when they mix genres like that.
Yeah, so I want to check that out. And then, like most people, I did get a Switch too. So I've been messing around with that a lot. I did get the Mario Kart bundle just because I wanted to save $30
100%.
on the game, because not to get too deep into it, but I am pretty against the idea that that game is worth $80. So, but I did have fun with it, so I'm glad I got it for $50.
Yeah, $50 is definitely a better price, especially since I don't play Mario Kart solo almost ever. So I don't know why I felt the need to buy it at launch, but I did. Apparently, I just don't want to be left out.
It was the launch game, right? So
yeah, I'm excited for Donkey Kong though.
Oh man, yeah, that's only like a month away, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right, anything else?
That's it. That's all I got for recent pickups, at least.
All right. So then let's go ahead and let's move on to our main topic. So what we're going to be talking about is the Vita. I mentioned it a couple times as we've got here, but so I forgot one of the questions I was going to ask you earlier, Craig, was what was some of the console sets you've completed.
Yeah.
And at this point, whatever. But one of the console sets he did complete was the Vita. So
Yes.
you have the whole North American retail set for it, right?
Yes. So all the retail games. I have about, I think, like a third of the limited run games, but I feel like those are kind of their own separate category, honestly. I'm gonna finish it eventually. It's just not a priority right now, but yes, whole retail set.
Yep, I agree, and that's personally what I'm working on too, is the retail set. And then limited run, I'll piece together the stuff that I want, and then eventually, if I decide that I want to just have it all, I'll go there. But
yeah,
I'm not holding myself to that.
Yeah, a lot of the limited run games are not great, honestly.
Yeah,
So
there's a
it's
lot.
like,
When you look at them, they look very shovelware-y sometimes. Not all of them.
Mhm.
There's some good stuff in the limited run releases.
yeah, there's
but
some great ones, but there's a lot of junk too.
Yeah.
So
I do feel like I need to own Breach and Clear, because it's not just the first limited run release, or it's not just the first Vita release, but it's the first limited run release period.
yeah,
And
period.
that's pretty
And
historically
they developed
important.
it too, so it's
Yeah.
kind of it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I hear it's not very good, but I'll still play it. But it
I
feels
have heard that it's not good.
feels like it's a must own in the limited runs portion. But but that being said, we're both big fans of the Vita. And Craig, having finished the set and having done all this research as he was going through it, and just having his own viewpoints and thoughts on the console, I thought it'd be fun to have him on and just kind of talk and just have a chill conversation about this console that we both have a lot of love for. And so to get started, I wanted to talk about why the Vita. Why do we collect for it? Why do we love it? What about you, Craig? What is it about the Vita that has brought you into not just wanting to complete the set, but also playing it somewhat regularly?
Yeah, so I think that it's one of the most comfortable, impressive, interesting, weird handhelds to ever exist. The main stem of my love for the Vita, not to get too sad about it, is my best friend Chase passed away a few years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And no, it's okay. He's the one that got me on the Vita, though. He was always ahead of the game. He was playing Persona 3, when we were in middle school, like kids. He got a Vita day one. He was playing it, the Project Diva games. He was playing Gravity Rush. He was playing Persona, all these different things. So a lot of these games that I love and hold close and dear to me were introduced through him.
Yeah.
And I got my Vita in 2014. I bought it with Gravity Rush, Persona 4, and Project Diva, actually, because those were all the games that he told me to get with it.
Yeah.
And then I also got Danganronpa just because I heard that it was good. And I've just kind of been in love ever since. So I wasn't an early adopter of the Vita, but I wasn't super late either. I think it came out in 2012, so I was about 2 years late. But by that time, there was already a lot of really good games on there. Sony first party support died pretty quickly, unfortunately. So it's like that was pretty much all third party already, even after just those 2 years. But I associate this console with my late brother, so to say. And I just think that it has a fantastic library. Like I said, the form factor is great. The screen is great. It was ahead of this time. It was a technical marvel at the time for being a handheld. And just kind of playing it and looking at it through that lens makes it very fascinating. And it's portable consoles are not really portable anymore either, right? They're all pretty big and bulky, even
Yeah.
if they can be played in handheld. And the Vita, I think, is just kind of the perfect size, fits in your pocket perfectly. The battery life is pretty good in it. It can play all your PSP and PS1 games as well. Most of them illegally, but a lot of them legally. So there's a lot of really good stuff on there. It's a great all-in-one PlayStation handheld. So if you're a fan of Sony, if you're a fan of JRPGs or for things like that, it's a fantastic console to collect for and play.
Yeah. I agree with all of your sentiments, and for me, like, I was a huge fan of the PSP. I was a pretty early adopter of the PSP. It was right after I started working that it came out, and I just like that whole portable media aspect. Like, I could listen to music on it, I could watch movies on it, and the games were so high quality. Like, I loved my DS, but I played my PSP a ton. Like, it was just, I loved it. So when the Vita came out, like, originally I was excited and I loved Uncharted. So, like, I thought it was cool that Uncharted was coming out at launch. But I remember at launch, I was just like, I can't stomach the price. I don't remember how much it was, but I was like, I think I just recently bought a 3DS, or I was getting ready to. I can't remember where they came out in comparison to each other, but
pretty close, I think.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that played a big part into why I didn't buy one, because I'm like, all right, I don't have the money to buy both. So I went 3DS because all my friends, we all play Pokemon and stuff. So I was going to continue on that path no matter what. But I remember my friend Alex got a Vita, and I remember playing around with it and being like, dang, this thing is impressive. And eventually, after we got married, when we got back from our honeymoon, we had some money left over, and we both decided, like, let's buy one thing on this, this price range that maybe we wouldn't normally buy. Let's buy one thing each for ourselves. The thing I got was a Vita.
Nice.
And I quickly fell in love with it. And, over the years, obviously, I would get distracted by other things in the Switch and stuff. But about 2019, I reinvested myself into it. And that's about the time where I started really heavily trophy hunting too. And the fact that the Vita is just, like you said, it's beautiful. It's very easy to hold. And even if for people that might think it's not, they make grips for it that make it very easy to hold. And it's just like a PlayStation controller. They do. And it's just, the interface is fantastic. Most of the games that I've played on it are just like, they play extremely well and they look really good. And I love being able to earn trophies on the go. It's a simple thing.
That was excellent.
But I really love it. And like, I wish I would have been a little bit more deep into it when it was still going in, 2014, 15, even though I had one, like, I still played it pretty passively. But like, I would have liked to have messed around more with that near feature on there. Like, I never, I think it was already shut off by the time I ever like messed with it.
Yeah, me too.
But it's a cool system, and that's, I love PlayStation. I love Nintendo as well, but sometimes I feel like I might love PlayStation a little bit more, which is sacrilege to a lot of people. But I go back and forth.
For me, it really does depend on the day of the week. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's like there's certain games where it's like, to me, I'm like, oh, that's a PlayStation game, or oh, I definitely want to go for trophies and that. And then there's certain things where I'm like, oh, Nintendo. So
yeah, 100%. But trophies play a big part. I love trophy hunting, and anybody who's listened to multiple episodes of this podcast probably are sick of hearing that. But it's just, it's a fun, like, side hobby.
Another hobby within the hobby. Yeah.
And it makes me play games that I normally wouldn't play, like Bubsy Paws on Fire. And guess what? That game's not that great, but I'm still playing it. I'm still getting through it, and I'm not hating my time with it.
And a lot of times when you do go for trophies in games, it helps you play the games deeper than the average person would, and you feel like you really get to know the game too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you're going out of your way to do things in a game that the game isn't making you do, and it makes you become more familiar with the mechanics. Maybe you do more side quests that you wouldn't have done otherwise. So trophy hunting, sometimes you can drive yourself crazy with it, but overall, I think it usually enhances your experience with a game, even if it's unintentional.
Yeah, I agree. Like, even like sometimes like a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like, I absolutely loved that game. I played a ton. I put a lot of time into it. I got a lot of the side trophies, but when it came down to it, when I was done and I had to play through it a second time to get the platinum, I was like, Nah, I'm not doing that. Like,
I
forget
hate
it.
when games do that. I hate
Yeah.
games that require two playthroughs.
But the one nice thing about it is when I inevitably go back to it before part three comes out, if I don't go
True.
back to it before then, it will like give me a side thing to look forward to doing while I'm playing through it again.
That
And
is
I did the
true.
same thing with Remake. Like when I
Hmm.
replayed Remake before Rebirth came out, I was able to play through it again and enjoy, not just enjoy the game again, but enjoy going for the few trophies I had left and getting the hard playthrough trophies and yeah, it was a good time.
Heck yeah.
So next, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that the Vita was a handheld console made by Sony, but Sony definitely failed this console. Like, I don't feel like the Vita was a failure. I feel like Sony failed the Vita
Hmm.
because I looked it up because I couldn't remember, and you mentioned it. It was only about 2 years. You could say three because a few games came out, but it was
Hmm.
really only about 2 years after the console came out that they completely stopped support on it.
Hmm.
And when you consider even Nintendo supported the Wii U longer than that,
Hmm.
it's pretty sad. It's like they wanted the console to be a runaway success, and when it didn't sell gangbusters at launch, they were just almost immediately were like, okay, well we're done then.
Yeah, it's strange that they didn't keep trying. Even the PS3 had a very slow start comparatively to the 360.
Yeah,
By the end of that generation, they were tied essentially. They almost sold almost the exact same amount of units. It was like I think like 89 million to like 90 million. It was like that close.
yeah,
So
which is a crazy comeback in that
yeah.
because like the 360 outsold, like you mentioned, like I remember working when the PS3 came out at GameStop and the 360 was already in. We were selling 5, 6, 7 to 1 360s. Like people were not
Insane.
buying the PS3. Like, but then yeah, once the Slim came out and like they started really rolling out exclusives and stuff, then the shift happened. And I think Microsoft, maybe upset a lot of people too with the red rings early on, but it's they just did not give that same support to the Vita. And I really think that if they kept supporting it and made a couple more flagship type titles for it and not just collections, they
Hmm.
probably could have had more success with it. I mean, look at where handheld gaming is now. Like they could have figured out a way to continue to grow on it.
Hmm. I think unfortunately though, a big part of why the Vita support died so quickly was because that system got cracked so early on as well, and they just couldn't
Oh
stop
yeah.
the piracy was rampant very early on, and I think that they just knew that there was nothing they could do to stop it. Um, I don't know how or why, but the Vita store is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know much about the Vita modding scene, but you could literally just like go to a PlayStation, like a PSN mirror essentially, and download any game you want, like right now. It has been that way for so many years now, and I think once that break happened, I think they just kind of gave up because they were like, oh, we're not going to sell any games anymore because everyone's just going to steal them.
Yeah, that
Which is very sad, but I think that was the reason the nail was in the coffin so early on was because for somehow some way the it was just the Vita was not well, the security was not like its biggest feature. It
yeah.
got broken into so fast.
Yeah, and it's something I forget about because I'm not one, like I don't really spend much time with jailbreaking or any
Hmm.
of that stuff. Not against it, but I just don't. I forget it's even a
Hmm.
thing.
Oh, I'm big into it. I hack everything.
Yeah, well, and that's with the Vita. I've heard it's one of the easiest to do. I've
Yeah,
always heard that. Like, you wanna have basically every game ever, just hack your Vita. Like it's super
that was
easy.
the first console I ever modded, and it was just because I wanted to be able to add like PS1 and PSN, like PSP games that I couldn't add otherwise.
Yeah,
Um, And one of the coolest things you can do with a modded Vita is you could basically put the PSP OS on there and have both systems in one, which is awesome.
yeah, that's
So
actually
that
pretty
was the main
cool.
reason I did it back in the day.
That would be kind of nice. I need to. I bet if I had easier access to all my PSP games, I'd probably play them more.
Yeah, because personally, I know you said you love the PSP. I don't like playing the PSP. I like PSP games, but the actual console I'm not a fan of. So,
Yeah, the little nub is not the most comfortable thing to play around with.
mhm.
It definitely can start to make your thumb blister after a while. It's so uncomfortable.
And then obviously too, people have hammered this home for years, but the proprietary memory cards was the biggest mistake they could have made
Oh,
because
I
they were
know.
so expensive
Yeah.
and too specific. It's stupid. I mean, the smartest thing you could do right now is go buy an SD card adapter for your Vita and hack it just so you could use that and have as many games as you want downloaded on it. Because it's so easy to fill up 64 gigs. So easy, even if you get the biggest Vita memory card.
Yeah, I know. And Vita games aren't even like crazy big like games are now, but they still average at like 5-6 gigs.
Exactly.
And that doesn't leave you much room. You get 10 games.
At launch, the biggest game was Killzone. And if you didn't have a memory card, you couldn't even play that because there's not enough internal memory on the Vita. That's how little memory it has.
Yeah.
So
it's really such a bad idea to release a console and not just have like make either memory cards cheap or easily accessible, or just give people one so that they can play everything. Like,
yeah, greed got in the way for that one for sure, because there was absolutely no reason they had to do that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, we see where it ended up. Like, making those bad decisions and not trying to fix it was definitely a bad look. I mean, when you compare it to the 3DS too, the 3DS had a bad start. They launched at what, $300, $250, I can't remember, but they launched.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, they launched at that price point, and nobody bought it except for me and my friends apparently. And then they, 6 months later, they did what they needed to do to make it a success. And they dropped the price, and then I was happy because I got 10 NES games and 10 Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, the 3DS ended up being extremely successful. So I wish they would have just followed Nintendo's example, but
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting because you're used to Nintendo making the really dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like when it comes to this kind of stuff, they've outpaced Sony in a way.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too. Like, this isn't a Nintendo focused episode, but now that I'm talking about it, Iwata really felt like the kind of person, like he really wanted games to succeed, and like it seemed like a lot of good decisions were made under his leadership. Like, I'll never, like, it'll forever be impressive to me that the man took such a big pay cut just so that nobody had to be fired from when the Wii U was failing, because he took that as it was his fault, and he wanted to make sure nobody lost their job. Like,
the most admirable CEO probably ever. So.
Yeah, there's not many of those.
No, exactly.
So I did a count, and I don't know if this is completely accurate because I did it kind of quick, but if I'm not mistaken, I only counted 26 physical releases that were published by Sony. And that was 26 games that were published by Sony. Not all of them were developed. Like, I believe Borderlands 2 was published by Sony, and Persona 4 was published by them, but they didn't obviously develop either of those games.
Yeah.
And that to me is like,
insane.
Yeah, for their console, that's all that they were able to release. And they did release some stuff digitally, but I mean, most of what was digital only was like kind of like, I think of like that the Fat Princess, that was just like a weird match 3 puzzle game. It wasn't even like a real Fat Princess game, or like a lot of them were like weird makeshift, like, yeah,
like, is there like a weird Uncharted card game too on there?
Yep, 100%. Like, they did like a lot of experimental stuff, but like they didn't back it up like with these digital things. Like, they didn't continue to support it, they didn't try to expand on it. Seems like they were like, here, let's see what happens with this. And like, it just kind of fell apart. But
it's very strange.
That kind of leads into the next thing, the next subject or topic, which is the third party support, because Sony definitely kind of failed their own console, didn't really support it for very long at all, but that didn't stop third-party publishers from continuing to make games for it for years. And obviously we talked about Limited Run already, which that was a big one because they were starting to publish some of their own stuff, like you mentioned with Breach and Clear, and I believe, isn't Saturday Morning Cartoon theirs too? Or
Saturday Morning RPG, yes.
RPG, that's
right. That was their second release as well, so.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I knew it was physical. I didn't know it was their second one, but
yeah.
But I mean, that if you're looking for physical games, they have you can get another 100 physical games on the Vita. It's 100 or 101.
It is 101.
And that's only because they published them. So that's say what you will about Limited Run, and there's a lot to be said, but it was.
Yeah, but they kept it alive more than Sony did.
100%. And then, like, the third-party support from other companies, like, it felt like they cared more about this console than Sony ever did.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down some that came to mind earlier. Not a ton of games, but, just think about the Atlas games that are on there. like Persona 4 Gold and Persona 4 Dancing. They had 3 and 5 Dancing as well. We didn't get it in America, unfortunately, but there's a Catherine port on Vita as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So it's like the Atlas port was good, and those are very highly beloved, very
that would be a good Vita
games.
game, like a good game to play on the Vita. Catherine, just like that puzzle.
Yeah, and there's an English translation as well. So if you have a modded Vita, you can play it on there.
Oh.
People took the script from the PS4 remaster and put it on there. So
that's smart.
And then Vanillaware, they didn't. I don't think they actually published any of the games that are on Vita, but obviously they developed, Muramasa. They developed Odin Sphere. They developed what's the last one I'm trying to think of? Dragon's Crown.
Yep.
All very beloved, very well done, highly made games. Xseed, Falcom, and Marvelous worked together on a lot of games. It's weird how they had like a tri-publisher thing going on. Very interesting and weird, but like the Trails of Cold Steel games, there's I think 3 or 4, maybe even 5 East games on Vita. So a lot of stuff there. Idea Factory is crazy on the Vita. There's so many Idea Factory games. I don't know why Idea Factory went so hard on the Vita. I think they just knew their audience of weeaboos and a good amount of degenerates out there. But there's a ton of Idea Factory games on there. And I've been saying for many years now, I'm like, I think they're like the modern day Atlas in terms of like a lot of their games are low print and going to be valuable one day. I don't think a lot of people pay attention to them. They have a lot of weird, even Switch and PS4 releases that are super low print. So if you see Idea Factory on a game, it might be worth looking into seeing how many copies are on eBay.
Yeah, that's good to tuck away in the back just in case. Yeah, it's some of those companies, like, they really did go all out. Like, and it's impressive to see, like, the console was already not succeeding, like that was not new to anybody, but the fact that they kept making games for it, like, I'm glad that they did. And like a lot of them have been ported to other consoles, like the Danganronpa games, which
NAS America, I forgot to mention too. NAS had a lot of that.
And they had the Disgaea game, a couple Disgaeas on there too, like
3 and 4.
Yep, there was a lot of support. And if like for JRPG lovers, or just like if you really like anime based games, there's a lot to like on the Vita.
Yeah, if you like dungeon crawlers, or if you like visual novels, there's not a console more tailor-made for you than the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah, that is very true. There's a lot of visual novels. Like
so many visual novels. It's insane.
Yeah, I can't imagine I'll ever play them all, but yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Steins Gate is a priority one for me on there as well. People love Steins Gate. So
yeah, I had somebody on the podcast, a friend of mine, and he was talking like how much he loves the anime. So I was like, okay, I need to prioritize that game. It's just like actually
Steins Gate and Danganronpa are interesting because I think those two, their animes are so popular that most people don't even know that they were games first. Which is interesting.
That's funny. I don't know that I actually knew Danganronpa had an anime.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because it's funny because I played Danganronpa many years ago, and then my sister was telling me, like, I was like, oh, what you watching one day? And she was like, oh, that Danganronpa. And I was like, oh, like the game? She's like, there's a game? So it's like there's two different Danganronpa fandoms. It's very funny.
Yeah, I've played the first one. I really liked it. Like it's
so good.
It's really good.
A body has been discovered.
Yeah. So why are you so happy about this, you dang creep?
It's so good. I actually, the audience won't be able to see it, but let me share it with you. I have a figure on the shelf next to me of Junko and Monokuma. So
that's awesome. I love a good figure.
Me too. If I had more space, they just take up a lot of real estate, but I do like a good figure.
Yeah, that's why I don't have more. It's because I want to be very specific with the ones I buy. And I don't even know where I'd put more at the moment. I'm looking around right now thinking where I'd put another one if I bought one right now.
A quick way to run out of shelf space is figures. But I do have, speaking of Vita games, this is semi-related, I promise. I do have a 13-inch statue of Jill from Valhalla that just shipped from Japan that I pre-ordered like 5 months ago, so I'm super excited.
Dude, that's super cool. Yeah,
I'm super excited for that. I have no idea where it's going to go because 13 inches is very tall.
Yeah, it's time to find a way.
Yes, exactly.
Just take a picture off the wall and put up a new shelf.
It's fine.
Yeah, it'll make do.
Exactly.
And
sorry, I was gonna say shout out to Square Enix as well. Not a ton of games, but World of Final Fantasy 10, 10-2 HD. I believe I've never played it, but I've heard great things about that Army Corps of Hell game, where it's like almost like a weird like Pikmin kind of clone. So they had some interesting output on there as well. Yeah. Final Fantasy 10, it's just a big game for the Vita, and I never finished it on Vita. Um, I still haven't finished the game, period. But I played it probably about 10 hours ago on Vita, and I mean, it runs flawlessly. It's excellent. So
Yeah, it is. It's a perfect port of the game, and it came out like alongside the PS3 port. I believe it was PS3, like when that was
really
coming
cool.
out. Yeah, so that was a big deal because at the time, we didn't have an easy way to play, Final Fantasy X unless you had your PS2 hooked up still, which was maybe a little less common at the time, or backwards compatible PS3, I guess. But
And it would have been the first time it was portable. So.
yeah, and that was like now it's like common, like everything's portable, but
Yeah.
during
It
that
was novel at
time,
the time.
yeah, it was still very novel. Like I remember even on the PSP when I found out I could download games on the PS3, like the old PS1 games like Suikoden or Final Fantasy or whatever. The fact that I could transfer them to my PSP was like, oh my god, I can play Final Fantasy VIII wherever I want, and I did. Like I was so excited.
It's awesome.
And now it's just everybody can do that. Yeah, but the Vita was sadly very much so let down by Sony's own first party support. Not to say they didn't release some stuff, like we talked about, they did release the Uncharted game, which
Gravity Rush.
which was okay. Yeah, Gravity Rush, which was a good one, and even like some of their more experimental stuff, like Little Deviants. I know it got dogged on a lot, but when I played it last year, I was like, I actually kind of like enjoyed it. Like, not perfect, but I mean, I liked it just fine.
That version of PlayStation All Stars is just as good as the PS3 version.
Yeah,
The Hot Shots golf game on it is great.
I haven't played that, but I do have it. I've never actually played a Hot Shots Golf, but that new trailer, the trailer for the new one they showed the other day, kind of made me want to go and play one.
The Vita one's great.
Yeah, I'll have to play it. And Wipeout as well. Wipeout was good.
Yeah, I need to play that. I haven't played that Wipeout yet.
Yeah,
it's fun. I've had it downloaded on there for years.
I love Wipeout. It's a fun, F-Zero adjacent but slightly easier racing game.
Yeah, F-Zero is super hard.
Oh yeah. The one of the games that Sony did publish that I still really want to play is the Resistance game because I liked Resistance 1 a lot. And Resistance 2 was okay, but I
really like Burning Skies. People poo-poo on that game a lot, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I want to play it. And I hear that you can still get the multiplayer trophies, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's the only trophy I think I'm missing, so I just need... Our mutual friend Tyler, for years, he's been like, just charge... let me know when you need me to charge up my Vita, and we'll knock that one out, get you that platinum before one day you just can't get it anymore.
Yeah. Well, one day, once I get ready to play, I'll message you guys and we'll hop on and we'll just...
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We'll get that trophy out of the way.
We'll definitely be the only 3 people in the world playing it, but it'll be great.
100%. It's always surprising to me. Do you ever watch Mystic Ryan?
Yes. He makes excellent stuff.
I love his content. Like, I don't know if he's done Vita stuff. I can't remember, but he does PS3 quite often.
Yeah, the online.
And I love watching those videos. Just seeing like what games still have a community going. Like when he finds 1 or 2 people still playing a game like randomly. Like I don't know. That stuff to me is super cool.
Yeah, super fascinating. I feel like he did Vita at one point, but it would have been so long ago now. But yeah, that excellent idea for him to do. Like he does that, I think, every year, and I'm just like, man, that was a great idea for a video series.
Yeah. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, I wish I would have thought about that. That is like a great idea, and it's fascinating.
It's too good of an idea.
Yeah,
it's like, man, how did no one else think of this? It's that smart.
Yeah, and now we're discussing about Mystic Ryan, but also the one where he buys memory cards and will load up the memory cards and like load up people's saves files. I'm like, that is so smart. Like, I love that. Like,
he's when it comes to the gaming space, he is one of the most entertaining and creative dudes for sure. Big fan of his stuff.
Yep. Agreed. So let's talk about some of our personal favorite games. I know we've kind of already talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But I'll just name off a couple for me. One, Tearaway. I played Tearaway last year. And I loved it. Very charming. Very good use of all of the console's like features. Little Deviants was like their tech demo. And this game would have been much better as their tech demo because it is a very good platformer.
Oh, so Media Molecule made Little Deviants too?
Oh, I don't know if I know Sony published it, but I don't know who.
Okay, sorry. I thought you meant specifically developed by them.
Oh no, I don't think
okay.
I don't remember who actually developed it, but so it was a Sony published and developed inside.
I know what you mean now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, but Tearaway, have you played it?
Played but never finished. I actually got it on clearance at Walmart way back in the day. It was like $9
Oh,
brand new, so that was a
great
great
deal.
get.
Great deal for a great game. It's just
Hmm.
I really enjoyed it. It's a nice, easy. Well, I mean, not easy, but it's not a hard platformer.
Hmm.
It's just very aesthetic, very easy to listen to music. Like, yeah, I fully enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting the platinum trophy on it. Not a crazy hard platinum to get.
Hmm.
It's been one of my favorite experiences, but I do need there are some important games that I need to play on the console still, like we talked about Gravity Rush,
Yeah.
and Persona 4. I haven't played on the console, and since I haven't even played it in basically like 16 years, like it'll be almost like a new experience at this point.
Oh, for sure.
But one of my other like absolute favorite games on the console is Tales of Heart. Are
Oh.
I really enjoyed it. I played it when it came out, and like at that time, like I wasn't as into trophy hunting, but for whatever reason, like that game caught it, like, sunk its hook into me, and like I played through it the 2 or 3 times I needed to get the platinum trophy, and enjoyed like every minute of it.
Wow.
I love the Tales games just in general. I haven't played them all,
Hmm.
but all the ones I've played, I've really enjoyed, and that one
Nice.
is one of my favorites. I think it's kind of underrated. Like people kind of dog on it, like that it was just okay. And maybe it was just okay, but to me it sat higher. Like I just really enjoyed it.
I was gonna say I've heard mostly praise for that game actually, so I've wanted
Okay,
to try that one out for a long time.
you definitely should. I think it's. I mean, as of right now, it's still kind of stuck on the Vita, right? Unless you imported it or, you know.
Yeah, because I think it was a remaster that was like, wasn't it like a vote thing? Like it was voted to be localized. It was something weird like
I think so because I think it was a
that.
DS
And
game
then
or
I think it was
something.
also, yeah, and then it was I think it was a GameStop exclusive in America too. So
It
kind of just
was.
a weird release.
It was.
You know,
Yeah.
people voted for it to be made in America, and then it was exclusive to one retailer. Very strange.
Yeah. I was still at GameStop at the time, and I remember that being like a big deal. But why? Because people still weren't buying it. I was the only person that had it pre-ordered at my store. So
That's
like,
funny.
but yeah, it's a really good game. You should definitely play it.
Yeah, that's not one I've had downloaded for a long time, so I need to get to it. It's been a while since I've dusted off the Vita. Actually, I've been in a big 3DS kick almost the entire year. So,
I get
but
it. I go back and
I just love my
forth.
handhelds.
Right now, I've been on a little bit of a DS kick. I've been playing Rhythm Heaven,
Mm.
which I never played, and it is so much fun.
Oh my god, I love Rhythm Heaven.
Yeah, it is
I love it
so
so
good.
much. I got it when I got my DSi. I believe they launched the same day, if I remember right. And I've always been a massive, massive fan of that game. So it makes me happy to hear you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I never played it when they announced the new one.
Oh my god, I flipped out.
Yeah,
I was sitting there and I was like, yes.
yeah, that was when I was like, okay, I have to play. I'm not going to buy the Wii one.
Mhm.
And even if I did, I'm
Pricey.
less likely to play it. So I'm like, I'm going to get the
Mhm.
DS one because that's what I will play. Like,
Mhm.
I know myself. I know I'm more likely to play that. So I bought it and I just started playing it. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love that. I love a good rhythm game just as it is.
Mhm.
I know you
Oh,
do
me
too. I know
too.
you've talked about
Yes,
Parappa
yes.
and yeah,
Uncle
and
Jim or Lammy,
yeah,
goated.
I would need to play that. I've only ever played Parappa the Rapper when I was a kid, and I loved it. But at the time, also, like I really loved hip hop, and it was kind of like the forbidden soup. You know, like my parents were
Yeah,
against it, but that game was okay. So like I was like I loved that game. but
that's awesome.
but yeah, no, I'm really enjoying this game. That's why I'm bringing my DSi on this trip because I'm like I'm gonna keep playing that, and I have a couple other games that depending on time I might get to. But
Yeah, for sure.
um. I totally forgot what I was talking about. I derailed myself.
Favorite Vita games.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, those two games, and then I'm basically any platformer on the console. I've been really, I've found it to be a great way to play platformers. Like, I
Mhm.
really enjoyed playing through Rayman Origins on the Vita. Like, there maybe were a couple times where because of the smaller format of it, it was a little harder, but overall, like it's just like a good console for it.
Mhm.
Velocity 2X. I don't know if you played that game.
No, but I've heard great
I
things.
absolutely adore that game, and it's a mix of like shoot 'em up and platformer, and
Mm.
like that game. I love that game. I got the platinum on that last year, and that was just a very enjoyable experience. I'd played it before, but
Mhm.
anyway, that's a great game. But those
Mhm.
kinds of games just kind of feel like right at home, and I
Yeah.
love platformers, so that's like it's a win in my book that it's so platformers and
Nice,
RPGs
nice.
are two of my favorite series or genres,
Hmm.
and they both have a decent showing on the Vita.
For sure.
So, what are some of your favorites?
All right, so some of my favorites. Three of my top 10 favorite games of all time have been Vita games, so
Yeah,
we won't go into too much detail, but Gravity Rush, Persona 4 Golden, Valhalla, obviously, heavy recommends. We already talked about this one a little bit too, so I won't go too in depth, but Danganronpa, such a fun, weird, interesting time. Uh, like, it's funny because it's like, you ever play a game and just the sound effects are stuck in your head forever?
yeah.
Danganronpa is one of those for me for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Um, it's that was one of the earlier visual novels for me. Like the first visual novel I think I ever played the whole way through was 999 on the DS. And that's what made me really like the genre. And Danganronpa was one of the earlier ones for me as well. The music is really good. The writing is hilarious. The art style is very unique. Whenever that guy makes a game, you could tell it's his game because he uses the same art style. There's been a couple of other games now, but yeah, Danganronpa. I want to play the rest of the series, but Danganronpa 2 was another one of the games where I lost my save. Kind of like how I talked about Persona 4 earlier. I lost my save about halfway through a playthrough, and I just never went back to it.
Yeah,
So
that's rough.
eventually I will. And then V3 I have no experience with. Obviously, I'd rather play them in order if I can. And I think that they are all connected in some way, at least. So I don't want to spoil myself playing them out of order.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this is a funny one, but I stand by it. I love Hyperdimension Neptunia. I think that is so fun. They are, people make fun of them because they're bad, and they are. I 100% agree that they're not very good games. But sometimes you're in the mood for junk food, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is like I view Neptunia as like the junk food of JRPGs.
Yeah.
And that is my justification for liking them. Like sometimes you have a bad day, you just want to run through the McDonald's drive-thru. Sometimes you want a Garbo RPG, and that is Hyperdimension Neptunia.
Yeah.
They're not well made, they're not well optimized. They're really stupid in concept and everything. The writing is stupid and silly and fun. They're very like silly and fan servicey. But the core gameplay is fun enough. The world is interesting enough. The premise is funny because it's all the consoles are basically made into people, and you're having a real life console war. And the writing is hilarious, so they get a pass. They're not good, but I enjoy them.
Yeah, I've always heard that, but I love that concept that it's a real life console war.
No, yeah,
and I look forward to playing them.
Neptunia is supposed to be named after Neptune, the Sega Saturn, or like the canceled Sega console.
Yeah,
and then it's like all like the one of the other girls is supposed to be the Xbox, one of the other girls is supposed to be the PlayStation. So it's like one of them is supposed to be the Wii. So it's like, and they're all like trying to like fight for shares essentially.
Yeah.
And you get different endings depending on who has the most shares and stuff like that. So it's goofy and stupid, but like I said, good. It's a junk food JRPG. Like sometimes you just want that good Garbo, and Hyperdimension Neptunia is good Garbo.
Yep. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes that just hits. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just exactly what you need at the time. Like after I've played like a really long, deep, serious game, I don't usually follow it up with another one. Like it's nice to cleanse the palate with something small
Mm-hmm.
or something silly. And I can see like that really fitting into that category. Like maybe not your go-to game, but a good palate cleanser in between something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I played 1 and 2 back to back, and then I haven't played 3 or any of the other ones after that. I was like, I'm good. I'm like, I enjoyed it, but I definitely need a break. It's not the kind of series you want to play all the
Just
time.
blow through, yeah.
Exactly. But I started the third one, never finished it, so I want to go back. They're like I said, they're stupid, and I know that it's silly that I like them, but they brought me joy, so they get a shout out from me.
See, that's perfect. That's when something brings you joy, it deserves a shout out.
Exactly. One game I know you love that was one of my favorite Vita experiences was Day of the Tentacle Remastered.
Ah, yes, such a good game.
This game is excellent on the Vita because it's a point-and-click adventure game.
Yeah.
Vita has a touch screen, so you can just tap wherever you want to go. It's great.
It's literally perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that game. I don't know if you can see where I'll try to turn it. I think I've shown you this, but I have a Day of the Tentacle poster signed by Tim Schafer up there.
So cool.
He was at PAX in like 2015 or something when that was coming out. I adore that game, and the Vita is a fantastic place to play it.
is very, very good. And it's funny because it's technically two games in one. I'm pretty sure you could play through all of Maniac Mansion on it if you
You
want
can,
to,
when you
which is
go into
wild.
that
So,
one dude's room on his
mhm.
computer, it is like I want to get a copy of Maniac Mansion just to have on NES. Like I just think it's such a cool, like it's so cool that it even came out on NES.
Mhm.
And I've never actually played through all of Maniac Mansion, but it's a cool game too. But man,
Mhm.
Day of the Tentacle, 100%. Have you played
Mhm.
Grim Fandango?
I started it, but I didn't finish it. I need to go back to it.
Yeah, you'll like Grim Fandango as well.
And I also played through, I think it's called Full Throttle, right? Was the other
Yeah,
one. And that one I honestly wasn't too big on. But Day of the Tentacle I really liked. So,
yeah. I've never played Full Throttle, but I've always heard people really like it. But yeah, Day of the Tentacle is my favorite Lucas Arts point and click.
mhm.
Grim Fandango is also really good. Sam and Max is really good. Um, Also, it's never been ported anywhere that I know of, but other than
Mhm.
maybe other PCs. But Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis,
Oh, I've heard that's great.
that's a really good point and click. But I was a really big Sierra point and click fan, so I love
Okay.
Space Quest and enjoy King's Quest and Quest for Glory and all those.
That's nice. And then quick shout outs. Uh, Not exclusive to the console by any means, but it's cool that it's on there. Is Undertale. I love Undertale. Big fan of
Yeah,
that.
that's where I played it. Was on my
Um,
Vita.
oh, nice. And then I was looking at the list of games just because I'm trying to remember everything I've played. Um, I just had something. I don't want to linger on it. Oh yeah, I want to give a shout out to a goofy one. This game does not run well at all, but it's cool that it's on here and it's fun enough. Kind of another Garbo game, but the port of Amazing Spider-Man on the Vita is pretty cool. Just
Really?
having a bit, yeah, having a big open world game on the Vita is interesting and fun.
Huh.
So it runs at like 10 frames a second, so you'll have a headache. But it's cool, and I'm a bit of a frame rate snob, admittedly, but I find it more tolerable on smaller screens.
Oh, for
So like
sure.
if I play a game on the Vita and there's a bit of chugging, it doesn't bother me as much as if I was playing it like on a 55-inch TV in my game room. Then I feel like I would probably pass out trying to look at something
Ah,
that bad. But on the Vita, I can handle that. So
that's good to know.
Mhm.
That's kind of segues a little bit into what I was going to move on to next, which is talking about like uncommon games and then like region
Yeah.
exclusive games. But I do feel like in my research that I've done and in the shopping I've done since I started collecting more for the Vita, Amazing Spider-Man seems to be a little bit more of an uncommon one. Did you notice that in your um, when you
I
were
don't
collecting?
think so, but part of that would be I believe it was in my first ever like lot of video games when I bought a big lot off of eBay that kind of kickstarted me going for the set.
Yeah.
So I just haven't ever looked into it again since then. But it would make sense. It's funny. It would make sense for it to be a bit lower, but I'm like, that is a very Sony related title. It's a Sony movie, so it's
Yeah.
kind of funny if that's lower print.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a low print run, but I feel like I don't see it pop up very much because I have saved
Hmm.
searches not for the game itself, but just for like Vita in general on Macari and on eBay,
Hmm.
and it's one that it feels like it either doesn't pop up often or when it does, it's just the
Hmm.
cartridge.
Mm.
Very rare to see it with the case, but not. I shouldn't say rare, uncommon. It's all just
Hmm.
uncommon. It just feels uncommon.
Yeah, I get that.
But I know you've mentioned this before on I don't remember if it was on your YouTube channel or on the Collective Perspective episode,
Hmm.
but the Vita is in a unique situation in the fact that basically every game had a low print run.
Yeah.
So every game is kind of uncommon. Like,
Yeah.
but what are some, having completed a full set? I know you've talked about this on your YouTube channel too, but having completed the set, what are some of the games that you found to be some of the more hard to find ones that people should like look out for?
Yeah, so it was hard for me to remember off the top of my head, but I did go through the list of retail releases and put some notes next to a few that I remember. It took me a while to get. Two that are well known are Rose and Twilight and Are No Search Plus. I believe these were like NIS like website exclusives. It was something weird like that. Like they didn't just sell these in stores, so they only ever came out in special editions. So they're definitely on the harder side to find. I also have a DJ Max Technica tune. Um, I haven't looked in a while, but this is one of those games where it's like for a long time, if I was looking it up, there's like maybe one or two copies for sale ever, definitely on the lower end of things. There's also a very limited edition that didn't get many copies. I believe you have the limited edition though, don't you?
Yeah, I couldn't remember, but I thought I shared it on the Bird Dog
I
Discord.
think
But
Yeah, that's why I think I knew about it.
Yeah, I was so like I didn't even know it existed, and then I
Mhm.
saw it ending. I saw it on eBay, and it was like $40, and the guy said it's not complete. Literally on the auction, he said it's not complete, but that's the going rate for just the game, and
Mhm.
he showed that it was just the game, and like two of the trinkety things that it came with. Like a sleeve,
Mhm.
I think for the Vita, and something else. So I was like, what? You know what? Whatever. Though, if I'm gonna buy it, like I'll buy it and get this extra stuff. Like even if it's not
Mhm.
complete, it has the outer box and everything. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
showed up, and literally, I looked at the stuff, and then I was like, I pulled away the first layer, and all the other stuff is in there. It's 100% complete. They just
So
never
funny.
like moved the layer. You know how like in collector's editions they'll have like a
Yeah,
layer that you have to move out to get to the
that's
next layer of
awesome.
stuff. Yeah, that was pretty wild.
So
So
funny. They just didn't know what they had.
yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, it's one of the more random limited items I have,
Mhm.
being limited to 750. But
Mhm. Disney Infinity 2.0. I remember being a bit harder to find. Epic Mickey 2. This game I believe only actually I don't think that it was actually published at all in like or sold it all in North America. I believe it was like a South America release or a Canadian release if I remember right. One of
yeah,
those weird ones, but ESRB logo counts for the set.
yep,
Farming Simulator 18 took me forever to find for a decent price. That's a very, very low print game. Definitely a one print game. No one was buying Farming Simulator in 2018 for the PlayStation Vita, so they did
yeah,
not make a lot of copies for that.
no,
Invisimals, famously a very rare and expensive Vita game, also only released in South America or Latin America. By far and away, probably the rarest Vita release. I've seen more come up for sale more recently, but I think it's because word finally came out about it, so people that happen to have copies decided to sell theirs off.
yeah.
But for a long time, you couldn't find a copy for like under like $800. It's definitely a lot cheaper now, but still probably the rarest Vita game in terms of like availability in the States.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would have shown up by now, but I actually that was my last purchase that I've made
Hey,
on eBay. I found a copy popped up on eBay, which it wasn't the only copy, but there's only a few,
yeah.
and it popped up and it was $200, and it came with God of War collection,
Oh, weird. How
which I
funny.
already have. So I was like, well, I can recoup a little bit by
Yeah, yeah.
by flipping that. But yeah, I
Please
was
tell me that your Invisimals has the specific inserts.
It has the AR cards in there,
Okay, good.
so
Yeah,
I'm not positive that they're the right ones, but I'm like once I saw that
probably. Yeah.
I was like, man, that's just such a good deal. And I had a $10 off coupon for some reason, so I was like, I it was more than I would like to spend normally so impulsively, but I'm like, I have it
Yeah.
right now, and this is like all aligning to be my first big hitter from the Vita getting out knocked out of the way.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and especially if it has the AR cards, it's like I can't imagine anyone swapping those out for another one, so I'm sure it's fine. But that's definitely a game you don't want to buy without them because you're never going to find just the AR cards ever.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I remember you talking about that, and that was a big thing once I saw that they were
mhm,
there, and I'm just gonna because it was a new listing too, and I was just like, yeah, I'm
mhm.
doing it. But it was being shipped from Peru, I think, so it's not here yet.
How funny. Um, all right, so we got Mary Skelter's Nightmares. That game I think is a bit more available now than when I was going for the set, but an Idea Factory game, definitely the hardest to find Idea Factory game for the Vita. It's like a first-person dungeon crawler. I don't know if you want to count this or not. I'm counting it. I think some people. So there's two releases on the Vita that are just codes in a box, and because there's only two of them, I count them. And one of those is MLB 15, the show. You don't see that very often. It's funny, the international version that's actually on cartridge goes for a lot more just because it actually has a cartridge.
Yeah,
But the ESRB code in the box definitely harder to come by.
I actually, I know this sounds like I'm just like, oh, look what I have, but I actually have a copy of that
No,
too.
you're good.
Just a random offer up purchased
How funny.
locally. Like I didn't
Nice.
even know like that it was a code in the box when I grabbed it. Like
Uh-huh.
he was selling a Vita that was he said was bricked that wasn't bricked. It actually worked just fine, and a lot of games, and that was one of them. And I was like, this is really random. So
A good one.
yeah,
And then Putty Squad, super super hard to find for some reason on Vita, as well as 3DS. The PS4 version of that game you could find any day of the week, but both the 3DS and Vita version pretty rare. Couldn't tell you why. It's a weird release. It's like a remaster of some weird old PC game
Yeah.
from way back in the day. Terrible game, by the way. Also one of the ugliest games ever made.
Yeah.
And then
Go ahead.
oh yeah.
I was just gonna say
I'll just
you this time last year, you or maybe it was before that, I don't remember, you posted when you about the time you finished the set, or when you were coming up to finish the set, on your collective perspective episode, you talked about some of these uncommon games, and I had made a list of them. Like, I was like, okay, I'm kind of thinking about getting into this. So when I went to Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I was like, I'm gonna see if I can find any of these at like a decent price. The only one I found was Putty Squad. And yeah, it was like $30 or something like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna grab it because it was on my list. Like, this was one of the things I wanted to walk away from. Nice. Yeah, so I grabbed it and I played it, and it is ugly and it is terrible, but I got the platinum on it.
There you go. That's awesome. And then I have 3 more that I made a little note for. Super Dimension Neptune versus Sega Hard Girls. This is a spinoff of the Hyper Dimension Neptunia games, crossed over with Sega Hard Girls, which is like this weird Sega thing. I'm not totally sure what it is. All I know is that it's like anime girl representations of Sega consoles. I don't know like if it's like an anime or a manga or what, but it exists.
It's a weird name.
It's very weird, and it's a well, because it's like Sega Hard Girls, Sega Hardware Girls, I think. But very strange, little weird release. And definitely one of the hardest in the Neptunia franchise to find, and all those games are a little bit valuable in lower print. So, and then the last 2 I have on here, Supremacy MMA Unrestricted. For some reason, this one just doesn't pop up super often. Same with Virtua Tennis 4 World Edition, a Sega tennis game. So, just something to look out for. And I've said this before in other things I've done, but Rare is obviously not really a subjective thing, but it can be, because it depends on your own experience. You know, throughout time, you know, certain games will ebb and flow with availability online. And, you know, most people are going to base how hard it is to find something, whether or not you could find it on eBay any day of the week or not. And my perfect example I always give is when I was going for the GameCube set, one of the last 10 games I bought was Scalar. And for like a year and a half, there was not a single copy of Scalar complete on the GameCube on eBay. And if you go look today, there's like 50 copies complete. And you could easily $20 knock that game out. But when I was going for the set, it's like it didn't exist. So it's like games availability on the online market kind of ebb and flow. So it's like, I might say, you know, Supremacy MMA Unrestricted is on the rare or low print side. And you might go to eBay right now, maybe there's 100 copies. But when I was going versus set, there was like 2 copies. So it's kind of just based off of memory. And, you know, the market goes through ebbs and flows with every game where stuff is either more or less available. So
yeah, and sometimes too, and I'm not sure how common this is with any specific console, but they'll end up finding boxes of games that never got sold, and they you know, they end up on eBay or whatever. I have noticed with Vita games, there's a lot of hole punched copies, which I know are usually because they were sent to retail or like someplace that they weren't supposed to be resold. I see that.
I think
quite
those are usually a
commonly.
reviewer copies.
Oh, like a review copy. But I see that quite often, and I'm always like, why do I see so many of these? Like,
yeah, it's rampant on the Vita, I think, because people just didn't care. So
Yeah.
it's like they made these copies specifically for review, and I think they weren't getting sent out because people didn't care
Yeah.
to cover them, unfortunately.
That makes sense, and it's kind of sad.
But if you care about collecting for the Vita and the hole punches don't bother you, sometimes the games are cheaper because of that. So I look at it as a win.
Yeah. No, I've bought a couple that were hole punch just because the price was so much lower. I'm like, do I prefer it not to have that? Yeah, but do I care that much? No. Like,
No.
I'm still doing it for
tons of
myself.
hole punch games for sure.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely like, I think that's one of the things I've grown to really enjoy about collecting on the Vita is it's like collecting in general is like a treasure hunt, but like on the Vita it feels like trying to find certain games just more uncommon than others. Like, I've really enjoyed, I mentioned this briefly earlier, but I really enjoyed like being able to find collector's editions or special editions of Vita games that for whatever reason are like the same price as the game goes without it, or even cheaper sometimes. And like, it's made for like a fun way to get like versions that I probably wouldn't normally buy of a game. And like that DJ Max Technica one, like, I would have never bought that if I saw it at a store, but for that price, it was a no brainer,
Yeah, why not?
and it's got all this cool stuff in it. It's like just kind of cool. It's a cool display piece. Like the soundtrack is, I mean, it's just cool that it came with a soundtrack for a game that's based off of being a music rhythm game. So it's fun. It's fun to hunt on this console. It's fun. It's so everything is so uncommon. Like, and it's even harder to find stuff in good shape with the case and inserts. And I've become kind of addicted to trying to research what games actually came with inserts because
Yeah, it's
sometimes,
hard.
like, because like there was one of the Hatsune Miku games I was looking at, and I'd seen probably a couple dozen copies of it. Then all of a sudden, I see one that came with a trading card, and I think I messaged you about it because I was like, "Is this standard?" Like, because
And I was like, oh my god, I don't know.
yeah, and I'm like that. It's just so weird. And then that kind of triggered this like obsession with like, well, what games actually have like some games I just assumed didn't have anything because I see enough of them that didn't have an insert that I'm like, well, it's Vita. That time period is when they were really getting rid of all that stuff. But then it's kind of made me like I'll look at like as many copies as I can before I buy something sometimes just to make sure I'm not missing a stupid insert that I don't even need. But it's fun.
You really don't have a way to know. It's insanely undocumented.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to document it all as I go, so that it can for other people in the future if they want to collect, they have this available. But of course, like I'm not even positive that if I finish the set and think I have it all, there could still be some things that I'm wrong about. I could look at 100 copies of a game that had a insert and then never see that insert for some reason.
yeah, I definitely know I'm probably missing a handful, and I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. Hopefully, I could come across it one day. But it's like it's one of the things where it's like, yeah, that weird transitional period where you're just like you don't know what came with something. Most things came with nothing, but 20 copies on eBay without it, and then one day you just see a trading card in Project Diva. So it's like you really don't know.
Exactly. It's weird, but it makes for a fun time. like
Yeah.
like while going for this set.
Yeah, one thing I'll do once in a while actually is I'll go on eBay and I'll just type in like Vita insert only and see if I notice any that I haven't seen before, or if I know my games don't have it.
Yeah.
And I'll just pick them up because usually you can get those for dirt cheap because people don't.
They don't really value
normal
them.
people don't care about a piece of paper like that.
And I don't blame them because it is like sometimes while I'm doing it, I'm like, this is stupid. This is literally just the piece of paper that has the what is it called, like the terms or like the warning stuff on it.
Like
that's
nobody what makes it so fun.
Yeah, but I'm like I can't help myself.
Exactly.
And then
it's a sickness.
it definitely is a little bit of a sickness. There's no denying that. And then lastly, kind of before we start concluding here, I just wanted to bring up region exclusives. Normally I'm not. I kind of stick to the the ESRB North American releases when it comes to collecting. But I haven't done much of this, but with the Vita, like there are some really cool or unique games that got physical exclusives in other regions. Like Europe got a lot of exclusives of good games that we did not get here, like the Ratchet and Clank trilogy. We got all the other trilogies,
but not that one.
Not Ratchet and Clank for some reason. Or one that I really want is Little King Story. Famously a Wii game. Well, maybe not famously, but it was a Wii game first, and it got ported. And it's never got a physical here on the Vita, and it's not even on the store anymore, from what I understand. Like,
it got delisted?
It's my understanding. I haven't actually verified that, but I read that somewhere.
Interesting.
And like, I want to play that game, and I have it on Wii, but I'm way more likely to play it on Vita, where I can actually earn the trophies and stuff. So stuff like that. Like, it has me interested because it's not region locked. Because I want to earn trophies on some of these games, because I like to own them physically. Like, it's just kind of a cool little side thing to do while working on the set. Kind of similar to like the limited run stuff for me. I might grab some of them as I go, especially the ones I really want to play. But like one that I really wanted was the Attack on Titan, just because I'm a huge fan. And I managed to snag that in a really cheap lot of Japanese Vita games.
Oh, cool.
Like literally $10 free shipping. Like it was dirt cheap. Wow. And that was the only game I wanted out of it, but that's
pays for itself then, yeah.
Yeah, but that was one I was happy to grab. But Anyway, just something I think is cool when it comes to Vita collecting, because it's, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so interested in it now when I've never been interested in it so much before. Like if I see a Switch game and it has a Peggy rating on it, no offense to
Like,
to my friends
ew.
across the sea, but I'm like, nah, I want my ESRB.
Nah, I'm the same way.
But yeah, weird idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with like a lot of like region exclusive physical game stuff like that, but I did want to shout out. I think I mentioned Catherine earlier, so there's that one. If you're an Atlas guy, and there's also physicals of Persona 3 and 5 Dancing
Yeah, I
that
saw
came out
that.
in Japan only. I do own those, so big fan of those games. And then you mentioned the Ratchet and Clank trilogy. That was the only other one I was even actually really aware of I was going to mention. So, but yeah, there's tons out there. Um, the Vita, I think it sold like 10 million units, and I think like 9 million of them were in Japan. So you could probably learn a lot about the Vita library just looking at Japanese exclusives. There's tons and tons of stuff, tons of anime games and different things like that. So if you're a Vita fan, you're probably also an anime nerd. So there's lots of things to discover out there.
I'd say the crossover is probably pretty large.
Yeah, for sure.
um, yeah, but it's a cool system. Let's move into like the closing thoughts. Why do you feel that people should still be interested in the Vita? Why do you maybe collect for it or just have one to play? Like, do you feel like people should still care?
Oh, 100%. I think that has a fantastic library. A lot of the games are not exclusive anymore, but they did come out first on there, so they have kind of like a uniqueness factor there. And a lot of the games on there hold up, to modern day standards, honestly. Essentially, you know, pretty close to like a portable PS3, which is crazy. And that is when, kind of the modern era, so to say, of gaming starts in most people's minds. It's a comfortable handheld. It looks great. It feels great. And I think a lot of the games that are on it hold up just super duper well. Like I said, especially if you're a fan of dungeon crawlers or visual novels, this is the console for you.
Yep. Yeah.
And something so collectible about these little itty bitty boxes for Vita games. They just look cool.
I do. I agree. I love the form factor of the Vita cases. They're very, I don't know, visually appealing to me. I love walking into a store and seeing that they actually have some Vita games.
Yeah, which is not common. I mean, Vita's hard to collect unless you go the eBay route. You don't see Vita stuff in person.
No, yeah, I buy a lot on eBay and Macari because it's just the way to do it. Especially like I do want to get stuff on the cheaper side if I can.
Yeah.
But like when I go into a store, if they have they have some Vita games and they're priced well, or uncommon, like I'll usually at least try to buy at least one, just to try to support the store. But it's just so fun. Like I love just seeing, it's so uncommon to go into a store and see even one on the shelf.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if I'm at a GameStop and they have it and it's priced well, I'm usually going to buy whatever game it is. Like, just because GameStop usually has them a lot cheaper than going rate for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I love the Vita. Obviously, I'm probably biased. Like it's just a console that I enjoy playing. I enjoy collecting for it. Obviously, like with the PlayStation Portal now, you can play your PS5 games while you're not next to your TV. But the idea of being able to play PlayStation games wherever you go and earn trophies or be online and chat with friends when there's actually another friend that you have that's online on their Vita, it's neat to me. I think it's a cool console. I wish that they would have done more with it because I feel like it had a lot of potential. But I think what we got was still really cool, and I wish more people would still play it. And I still like, if anybody's listening, they have a Vita and they want to play something multiplayer that we can play online.
Yeah,
together,
let us know,
dude.
That'd be so fun.
I would be down. Like, yeah,
me too.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. We just wanted to talk about the Vita some. Craig's a huge Vita fan, if you couldn't tell. I'm a huge Vita fan. I don't know a lot of other huge Vita fans. So it was just like the perfect marriage for a good episode.
Oh, it was excellent. I had a great time. Apologies for yapping as much as I do. I'm sure you didn't want this to be almost 3 hours, but
Hey,
I don't know how to shut myself up. So
I enjoyed it. Anybody who listens to this podcast at this point knows that our episodes almost always go over 3 hours. I can't seem to. I also talk a lot, so
there's a lot to say.
Yeah, I like to believe it's happening because we're just having a good time and the conversation's coming natural.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I really appreciate you coming on here, man. It's been a lot of fun. I hope it's not the last time. I'd love to
No, definitely. I'd love to
do
be
it
back. This
again.
was a great time. Love talking games with you. We have a lot of similar interests.
For
So
sure. Yeah, I've noticed that before too, just listening to your podcast, and I knew it would be an easy conversation to bounce off of each other. One day I want to do. I think it would be fun to do the Avengers of podcasts, and then we'll do a crossover with you guys and with Unlockable and everything, and
everybody,
we'll have just a huge conglomeration of podcast glory.
that'd be awesome. We'll need a moderator so we're not all
And just
talking
talking
over
over
each
each other.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be
be
really
fun.
cool.
But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and shout out your socials and your YouTube before we hop off here?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all these things. Craig's Game Room, YouTube, Craig's Game Room. Generations Behind is available on my YouTube channel as well as Spotify and iTunes. Appreciate if you guys will all come by, subscribe, leave reviews on on podcast services. Best way to help those kind of shows grow. And that is it, I think. So thank you very much for having me. I had a great time.
Yep. No, thank you. And do check out his content. His videos, the collective perspective, and the podcast are all great. So I always love it. I look forward to every other week when you put out a new episode. So, well, thanks again, man.
Yep.
On that note, let's go ahead and close it up. So remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever at X Button Gaming. And if you haven't done so, please do like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out the videos there. I have a few more coming out in the next couple of weeks. And remember to always press X to continue.
Take care.